Welcome into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you. Darian Landon with us as well on the other side. We're Sports Time. We're with you for the next 3 hours and a ton to get into over these next 3 hours with a bunch of college football news, college football playoffs. Rankings came out last night. We now know where the Tigers are going to play in their bowl game. It's the start of the signing period today as well. Tigers making some moves with some high school and JUCO prospects as well. We got to talk basketball. Grizzlies looked good for 3 quarters last night, but could not finish in the fourth quarter. And Tigers back in action tonight, their first game back from Maui. So a ton to get into over these next 3 hours. But Brett, how are you today?
Brian, I'm doing well. We interrupt our regular scheduled programming to check and see if Luka has any blood, if he's injured and complaining about a call.
Oh, Luka Doncic, the
new Dirk Nowitzki. Checking for blood and complaining about every call. Wasn't he an annoying pest last night? Almost reaching Shane Beamer level.
Oh, wow. You know what, Brett? Mark you down as the first one, maybe ever, to compare Luka to Shane Beamer. I love it.
Number 77 to the little pipsqueak South Carolina coach.
Yeah, you don't hear that much. Yeah, no, Luka.
Breaking news, South Carolina, they thought football season started on Halloween.
They thought, they thought it was a 6-game season, Brett.
Yeah, was it like the COVID schedule where some played 6 and some played 9?
Yeah, you only played, your conference games and, oh, good Lord, COVID season.
But that last night, probably the first, I'm not go to bed mad over the Grizzlies loss, but dang, that one was close. And during it, real time, we know the treat we get as a marketplace, night in, night out with our announce crew.
Oh, yeah.
Pre, halftime, posts, Rob, Chris, Brevin, pre-games at FedEx Forum, Pete Pranica doing the games, Brevin as analyst, Rob post-game. We know. We really do. We have a treat every night in them bringing the action to us. Brevin in real time, telling about, warning about, predicting the fouling, and it was a lot of fouls, and there were legitimate fouls, that was bogging the game down into the mud and destroying the Grizzlies' flow in real time. And it did. I'm telling you, it was like Dallas got an ice pick and just punched the ball and took the air out of it took everything to the charity stripe, and they stole the game that way. Not stole. They backdoored, won a game that way, and in real time, Brevin's high-level analysis was so spectacular.
Yeah, that team's fantastic, and you're right. You look at, there are some people out there that like to go and kind of try to rank all of the groups. Every single year, you find one of those rankings. They're top, 2 or 3 in the league.
It really is.
It's incredible. But you're right. He nailed it last night, and unfortunately,
they entertain, they teach, they inform.
They're great.
And really, I got the Luka take from Pete last night, going, he's all league and complaining.
He does complain a lot. He's a heck of a player, but does talk a lot, and it's a lot of times complaining to the officials for a call that, a lot of times isn't really there.
But that was one that was tough, broke the 6-game winning streak, got to start a new one, hadn't had anything longer than a 2-game losing streak all year, so back at it tomorrow night. Back at it tonight at FedEx Forum, though, the Tigers, the runners-up in Maui, and that is worth a lot, especially when we got the bracket reveal, when we just got the various teams a year ago that would be there. Everybody's, oh man, it's gonna be fun for the ones that go, and it's gonna be fun for us, back home daytime TV viewing. But the competition, it's gonna be rough.
Yeah, well, see,
and then we got the bracket reveal, and go, okay, so we get the easy one out of the way first, huh? UConn.
Exactly. Well, and you look at a lot of people that were talking about this, previewing it, whatever it might be, and there were a lot of people calling it the toughest, the most loaded, whatever word you want to use, bracket and group of teams in recent history at Maui. And so for the fact that the Tigers were in that group and that they probably got, at least going into the tournament, what we thought would be the toughest team first, you win that, then you go play the legendary Tom Izzo and his team, you win that, and then ultimately you go up against what a lot of people believe is the best team in the country right now, and you ultimately run to a buzzsaw. But I thought looked really, really good. You take that San Francisco game before, looked really good in that one, and yeah, I mean we've talked about the energy feels like it's really high right now, and hopefully it's a good crowd and a good win tonight for the Tigers against La Tech.
And I want, and they do a great job with it. I want a pregame ceremony. I want the lights taken down low and the big voice, great public address announcer at the Tiger game, and the spotlight hit that Maui trophy and recognize that team. It was worth a lot, that trip.
No, it was, and it was huge, and for them to get that, and I think what that does for that team of, hey, look, we went and we played and nobody really thought we were going to win these games and thought we would compete, and we did it. That's got to give them a lot of momentum and a lot of confidence in their play, and we'll see how it looks tonight.
And the champion of Maui, they play tonight at Cameron Indoor.
Yeah.
Did you see the get-in price?
I have not, but I'm sure it's incredible.
Auburn at Duke tonight at Cameron Indoor, tickets starting at $600.
Of course it is. I mean, that's great. I love it.
I promise you, Auburn fans, I mean this completely complimentary to the now long, great tenure of Bruce Pearl at Auburn. The very idea, once upon a time in Auburn basketball history, of them even playing at Duke, of Duke recognizing their existence, much less going in there as number one and the ticket price starting at $600.
Yeah.
They need to build a statue for Bruce Pearl right now.
Oh, the job he's done at Auburn has been incredible, and it just gets
and
better.
swatted away every offer.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have named about any of these job openings that's been out there in college basketball the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, but he stayed with Auburn, and he's built them up, and he's got a heck of a player in Janai Broome and some really good guards and a really good team this year. And now they'll go and see the number one prospect in the draft and this team with Cooper Flagg and Duke. So that's going to be the marquee game tonight. I'm really excited about it.
Brian, I don't want to pretend, I don't want to try to even come off at all as an expert in the history of the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl, but I'm looking forward to the 10-2 Tigers being there, and I would just hazard a guess that no ranked 10-2 team's ever been at the Scooters Coffee Bowl.
I don't know the history. SMU might have played there 2 or 3 years ago. I don't remember, though, but I know it's been an American Bowl.
Did one of those Texas Senate somebody good may have.
Maybe,
let me back up on that.
But no, I don't know much about it.
I know the history of the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, yes.
And it's over 100 years.
Yes.
But
no, not much. Not well versed on the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl.
But want to go blast West Virginia and should.
Yes, and this is a Tiger team that is coming off that big win over Tulane, and now you see a team kind of going in the opposite direction in West Virginia, who finished 6-6. Now they did win 3 of their last 5 games, but that last game against Texas Tech was not very good. They end up firing their head coach. They're looking for a head coach right now. So yeah, really good opportunity for the Tigers to get another bowl win over a P4 conference team.
And people at this radio station with better Tiger and AAC info than I have, they will. I know that in the coming days they'll have the full background on why this bowl. I like the idea of going and playing it pretty rapidly after the season's over. Sure. I think that will reduce your opt-outs.
I think, yeah.
I hope.
So. Yeah.
And you can take your real team there against a team that was without a coach, just fired Neil Brown, and go beat West Virginia, Power 4, good team that I don't think ever had a lot of consistency in the Neil Brown years and didn't have any this year. But West Virginia, a great football history, and will be fun to go win. And I wonder why this one, not just timing, but over, say, Birmingham. And I don't think back-to-back years in the Liberty Bowl was really ever an option for either party. And I understand both parties with that.
Yeah, no, I don't think Liberty Bowl was in the equation. But, I mean, I know there were a lot of other bowls in bowl sites that were possibilities. I know, the Gasparilla Bowl was one that had, recently been projected for the Tigers. I think CBS Sports had Memphis and Florida playing in that bowl game. I know there'd been a lot of talk, throughout the season about maybe the Fenway Bowl for the Tigers as well. So, yeah, it's interesting. Here's your history of the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl. This bowl started as the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl in 2017 when Louisiana Tech beat SMU 51-10. Then Ohio, San Diego State the next year, Kent State, Utah State in 2019. 2020 they did not play. 2021, San Diego State beat then 24th ranked UTSA. So you're right about that.
Okay.
Then
the UTSA played here that year, remember?
They did, yes.
In 2021.
That was when they beat Memphis here. That was the game. Memphis was up big, and then UTSA came back and won. 2022, Boise State over North Texas. 2023, UTSA beat Marshall, and then now we'll get Memphis and West Virginia.
Okay, so not the game that Mississippi State and Tulsa had the Donnybrook in. I guess that was Armed Forces in Fort Worth. So. I knew it was down there somewhere in the Metroplex. But that'd be fun. It'd be a good trip. It's a trip that Tiger loyalists certainly can make and very winnable. Tonight at FedEx Forum, Louisiana Tech, we'll talk a lot about it coming up, and we'll do Tiger bankroll. But also last night, college football playoff reveal. And, Brian, I think – You tell me if please. I want you to correct me if I'm misstating anything that I had presented. I had more or less resigned myself on the air Monday, on the air yesterday, in private, public, friends, everything, of the 3 lost SEC teams, of which there were 3 of them. We were all kind of over at the bad table.
Yeah.
We were kind of all over at the 9-3. Tough luck, guys. Y'all have something on your resume that's eliminating. I'd resign myself to that. Okay, fine. Nothing's going to change. A 16-point favorite at home against Kentucky and losing the game.
Right.
Nothing's going to change for Alabama allowing 40 at Vanderbilt. Nothing's going to change for South Carolina losing to both of those two teams we just mentioned. Okay, so over there, yesterday, I said clearly, I know I did, that Miami should have preference. I defend Miami today. I'm tired of hearing about Miami's narrow escape at Cal. I said it yesterday. I'll repeat it today. Try that on for size. Travel from this part of the country, Miami even further. Miami literally about as far as you can go and travel in the contiguous 48 states. From their campus to Berkeley. Play at that time. Have that time change. Have game day there like they did. I did not experience that with Ole Miss game day, but they are waiting for those Southern teams, SEC or ACC or whatever it is. And guess what Miami did? They won the game. They came back and won the game. Alabama did not come back and win the game in Nashville. Ole Miss did not come back and win the game. Missed a field goal, in fact, that would have sent it to overtime against Kentucky. 10-2 over 9-3. So I'm fine with all that. But you know what the committee did last night? The committee said, no, that really matters.
Yeah.
Committee said last night that we really can compare 9-3 to 10-2s. And they opened the door for that, didn't they?
They did. And
we saw clearly last night that at the direction, I'm sure, I don't know this, but I'm sure, he's there representing the SEC. So Hunter Yurchek's not there doing the bidding and doing the work for the MAC. He's not there doing the work for the Big Sky Conference. He's not there to get more Big Ten teams in.
No.
He's there to advocate for the SEC. And it's clear now he advocated and he's pushing for Alabama.
Yeah. I mean, if Alabama's the team that gets in there, it would feel like, at the very least, he gave a push, right?
Wouldn't you surmise that somewhere during the day, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, this conversation among some was had, look, we can't get 2 in. We got to decide who we're shooting the Rapids with. Is it South Carolina, Ole Miss, or Alabama? And the poobahs, the powers that be, decided, all right, this is the move we got to make. Now, this is just pure speculation on my part, what I'm getting ready to say. It feels like a back-scratching deal was made. Hey, Big Ten, You help us get Alabama in, and we'll let Ohio State keep that home game. Because nothing's more magical than that blimp shot and those announcers. You're looking live at the Horseshoe on the banks of the old Intangi, the home of the Ohio State Buckeyes, tonight hosting the Tennessee Volunteers.
Yep.
It feels like that got done, and what I want to know is why did Hunter Yurchek and the SEC powers that be, the poobahs, the power brokers, Greg Sankey, why did they decide Alabama's our team? Why wasn't it Ole Miss?
Yeah.
And if you're going to compare 9-3 to 10-2s, and let me be clear, I think Ohio State is a better team and more deserving than Ole Miss because of the 10-2 versus the 9-3. But the committee said we can now have that debate.
Yeah.
Tell me, Brian, other than, it's a big other than Ohio State's win at Penn State, what's their biggest win of the year?
Ugh. I don't. Indiana, I guess.
Oh, Indiana. Okay. Indiana.
Right? I mean, that would be it, right?
Yeah. Wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
And last week they lost at home as a 20-point favorite to Michigan. I would bet people without going to the Google. I won the bet pre-show, didn't I?
You did.
Nobody can tell you who the Michigan quarterback was last week.
I can't remember who it was. No, they've thrown like 4 of them out there this season. I mean, they can't decide who a quarterback
somebody said Little, thinking his last name was Little, and I said, "What, Little Nas X?"
It's a good pull by you, Brett.
Little. It was no little to it. His name was Davis Warren.
Well,
all 185 pounds of him, looking like he's dressed in a little kid Christmas morning football uniform. Yeah. Here's his stat line against the mighty Ohio State Buckeyes. 9 of 16, 62 yards, 0 touchdowns with 2 interceptions, and he won the game. Yeah. Quinshon Judkins rushed for 46 yards for Ohio State. Quinshon Judkins could get 46 yards walking through the Grove.
Yeah. Well, and I think that was the thing. The biggest thing after that game was it wasn't like Michigan came out and had the best game of the season and just, looked like nobody could beat them. They didn't play well. I mean, you just read off the stats by their quarterback, and they did not have a good game.
62 yards.
Yeah, they didn't play
How good
well.
is Ohio State? I was never going this direction. Didn't Monday, didn't Tuesday, didn't in private Sunday, didn't with anybody. I was never going this direction. I was never going we was robbed. And I still don't think Ole Miss was robbed. You lose at home as a 16-point favorite to Kentucky, you mostly forsake your argument. But since the committee said we can have these arguments, tell me why Ohio State is, first of all, second of all, hosting.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great question. I think the worst part of it is even watching last night on the ranking show, they didn't even know what the committee's looking at and they can ask questions afterwards, whatever they do. But they're sitting there and they're going through the rankings and they're going, now, why do we think this team is ahead of this team? And they're going, well, it's because of this. And someone else going, no, it's because of this, and it's because of this. We have no even idea of what exactly the
they're saying eye test. So they're saying Bama is better eye test than Miami. Why can't I say Ole Miss is better eye test than Ohio State?
I mean,
because their best win was over Penn State, right?
Yes.
Isn't Penn State's bugaboo team Ohio State? Yes. No matter where they play, when they play. Couldn't you say that's Ole Miss with LSU?
Yes. You definitely could.
More times than not, LSU just finds a way at the end of that night to have more on the scoreboard than Ole Miss. Most of the time. Last year it took, Superman performance in Oxford to fend off Jaden Daniels. But in the end, we know why it happened. It was, I think it was a back-scratching deal. We'll protect Ohio State at home. You get us Bama. We throw Miami overboard. And I can't really blame. I really can't. I really can't blame Hunter Yurchek for doing it. I can't. If I were him, I would still be mad to the core that I didn't get Lane, that I had to settle on Sam Pittman, that Chris Beard turned him down for basketball, that Ole Miss has had a dog pile in Omaha, Arkansas still marketing Omahogs when they hadn't won Jack in Omaha, and 63-31 this year.
Well, yeah.
I can't blame him a bit.
No, it's been a lot of things going in Ole Miss's favor in terms of them versus Arkansas, but We'll talk a lot more about this throughout the show. I know we'll talk a ton of it at 4 o'clock when David Cohn joins. We'll probably get back into it at 5:30 during What's Trending. But let me set up today's show real quick before we get to top and not top story of the day. 3:30, Coach Tommy West, he'll join us. We'll recap some of the games from last weekend, start previewing some of the championship games for this week, and we'll also get his thoughts on the Tigers being in the Frisco Bowl, the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl. 3:45, we'll talk more about the Tigers and Louisiana Tech tonight at FedEx Forum. We'll also have to get to Tiger Bankroll, as the Tigers right now a 12.5-point favorite over La Tech. 4 o'clock, I already mentioned it, David Cohn, the co-host of Crane and Company, joins us, talk college football. It feels like every week we talk to him about rankings and what's going on in college football. He has been fired up. I expect nothing less from him today, as this feels like very close to what we'll see Sunday morning. 4:30, we'll talk Grizzlies, what happened last night. We'll also get to some other things in the NBA. It's been a busy last couple of days in the NBA. 4:45, we'll get to big number of the day. 5 o'clock, Kevin Sweeney from Sports Illustrated will join us to talk some college basketball. A really good night of college basketball. A really good night for the SEC in college basketball last night. We'll talk about that. Another really good night tonight as well. 5:30, we'll get to What's Trending. At 5:45, we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Crunch Time. Let me remind you, we're in our Family Leisure Studios where family and fun come together. Get over there for the Ultimate Game Room and Fall Sale. Complete the Ultimate Game Room with a new pool table, shuffleboard, and an arcade game. Help them clear out their overstock of theater seating. It's all priced to move. It's also perfect fire pit weather, and at Family Leisure, all fire pits are 20 to 30% off. And don't forget about the spas. In-stock spas, $1,500 off, and they're also ready to be delivered. So head over to Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40.
He's Brian, I'm Brett. We got Darian, we got Landon, and we hope we have you at 901-360-8255 at the Sissy's Log Cabin text and talk line. We're Sports Time with you until 6 o'clock, and as Bryant said, we're always in our Family Leisure Studios. Merry Christmas from everyone at Family Leisure. And this hour brought to you every day by Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Great offers on the 2025s, the remaining 24s, and always special leasing options. Drive in luxury and confidence, knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Call them at 901-334-9673, but stop by the only Lexus dealership in Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2025 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking and you'll be driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and that makes for the safe luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, my top story has to be the Tigers. I'm going to try to group it all together. Tigers basketball back to action tonight against La Tech, their first game back from Maui. We'll see what they can do tonight. I heard, I guess it was last night, I think Dave was talking about this earlier. One of the commentators on one of the games last night was previewing and promoting Auburn and Duke tonight and said something about the Maui hangover. Will they have a little Maui hangover? We'll see if the Tigers have some Maui hangover against La Tech. This is a La Tech team that was picked to win the CUSA this year, but they're coming off a loss against Southern. So we'll see. I'm sure they're going to want to bounce back from that loss. And this Tiger team should be good energy in that building. We'll see how they come out with all the momentum they got over in Hawaii. But on the football side, we now know what bowl game they'll play in, the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl. And Brett, after diving a little bit more into the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl, first off, it's going to take me a while to get that name down. I've never had Scooters Coffee. I'll have to find it somewhere and give it a try. The Tigers have actually technically played in this bowl game before.
I missed it.
This from the Wikipedia page. On April 21st, 2017, it was announced that the Miami Beach Bowl had been sold to ESPN Events and that it would relocate to Frisco, Texas, and be played at Toyota Stadium in 2017. So very technically...
Was that the fracas with BYU?
That was the fracas with BYU in the
guess
Miami
what?
Beach Bowl.
Won the game.
And you won the fight.
And won the
How
fight.
about that? So we know Tigers will play West Virginia in that bowl game. It's also a signing day for the Tigers. The signing period starts today, and Tigers already getting a lot of big news. 4-star quarterback Antoine Hill Jr. signed to the University of Memphis after committing back in the summer. A lot of people were kind of antsy. Would they be able to keep that commitment? And they did. They've also gotten some flips today. JUCO, 3-star JUCO cornerback Shannon Blair flipped from Arkansas to the University of Memphis. Yesterday, JaQuinton Madison, a 3-star defensive tackle, flipped from Arkansas to Memphis. And then earlier this afternoon, 3-star offensive tackle Josiah Clemens flipped from Mississippi State to Memphis. And Brett, you call that a big flip because he is 6'7", 335 pounds. That is a big fella.
What position?
Offensive tackle.
Wow.
And I was just at Rivals about an hour ago, and the Tigers were number one in the AAC. Mm-hmm. That's where it matters.
Yeah.
I think it was 53 overall. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Brian, and there are people that know a lot more about it. Brian Moss and others around town know a lot more. I don't think the Tigers have ever finished higher than anything in the 40s.
No, they
and
haven't.
by the end of this day, they might be, and that first number could be a 4.
And I saw Brian Moss post on his Twitter earlier that if it ends today, this would be the 3rd highest recruiting class for Ryan Silverfield, or for the Memphis history. All 3 of the top 3 have come from Ryan Silverfield. He has recorded the top 3 signing classes in Tiger history if this stays.
That's the guy everybody's saying.
That's what it is. Yep.
Okay, let me move along. My top story is the Maui Invitational runner-up will be serenaded and welcomed back home tonight at FedEx Forum. 19 days since the last home game against Ohio. It was a sparse crowd at that one. Tonight we will see, I hope, bigger and better crowds because we need more than just social media buzz and talk radio buzz and vibes and TV buzz. Better than anything else, how you track a crowd, how you know traction around your program is your attendance. Mm-hmm. It's the most easily tangible, recognizable metric out there. It is time for these crowds to be good. And at about 7:50 tonight, I'm going to get the scan count. Mm-hmm. And I want the scan count to be legit and be robust. Yeah. And I think it will be, and I hope it will be, and it's deserved.
Yeah, I think it will be, and I think it should.
Not top story of the day.
Well, my not top story of the day has got to be the college football playoff rankings. They were released last night. We talked about it a lot yesterday that it felt like unless something crazy major happened in one of these championship games, that whatever we saw today would pretty much be what we see on Sunday, maybe 1 or 2 things changing, especially based on what happens in the ACC championship game. But the biggest news was the fact that Alabama is in front of Miami. Alabama comes in at 11. Miami drops all the way down to number 12. And here's my biggest deal. The biggest issue I have with all of this. It's fine if you want to put Alabama in front of Miami. That's okay. But explain to me beforehand. Let me know what you're looking at. And it feels like every week we're hearing different things. Well, we'll really take this. This is what we really look at and take into consideration. And then the next week it's, no, this is actually what we take into consideration.
I'll say it, Brian. Ward Manuel's one of the most unimpressive people in a big job I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. And then,
he couldn't answer the basic questions being spoon-fed to him by Reese Davis.
No. And then the whole thing with SMU, where, none of all the teams that aren't playing in a conference championship game, they're locked in where they're at, is basically what we were told last night. They can't move because there's no more data points that they can gather from
Strength
those
of
teams.
schedule?
I mean, anything. But with SMU, because they're playing, if they were to lose, he said it. They asked him about SMU, if they lost in the ACC, and he said, if they lose, there would be conversations about if they stay in or if they're out, which I think is crazy. And I even saw Rhett Lashley do an interview today where he said, if we decided right now that we wanted to say, hey, our team can't play this weekend for whatever reason, we'd be in based on what the committee said last night, because we would not play another game. But the fact that we're going out and competing for our conference championship could hurt us so bad that it knocks us out is quite frankly ridiculous. I agree with that. Now, it'd be a different story if Clemson goes out there and beats them by 40 or something like that, then sure, I understand. But if we're talking about a 7-point game, a 3-point game, SMU loses and they're knocked all the way out, I think that would be crazy.
My not top story, Grizzlies lose a tough one last night. Toughest competitive loss of the year. Could have, should have won game of the year last night, but didn't. 6-game win streak snapped. Back at FedEx Forum tomorrow night against Sacramento. And what Brevin Knight nailed in real time last night I thought was remarkable, and he was so true. 44 fouls to 44 free throws to 14. Yep. Dallas made 30 of them. That's the game.
Yep, no, that was the game right there, and you saw the collapse in the fourth quarter. We'll talk more about that a little bit later, but that'll do it for top and not top story of the day. Let's go ahead and get to our first break, and when we come back, we're talking some more college football with Coach Tommy West.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56.
Because it's Christmas, Family Leisure needs your help. Family Leisure has inventory that is off the move because you know it's Christmas. So don't wait. You can complete your ultimate game room with a new pool table, a new shuffleboard, new arcade games, or just get all of them for Christmas. Tons and tons of theater seating, overstock, or in place to move. 'Tis the season for fire pits. And all fire pits at Family Leisure are now 20 to 30% off. You say you didn't get a spa this year? Let's say no more. Spas are in stock, ready for Christmas delivery, and up to $1,500 off. These are just a few of the deals happening right now for Christmas. Just come on by and check out their gigantic showroom. You never know what kind of deal you're going to find. Family Leisure. It's loaded I-40 where family and fun come together for Christmas.
Family Leisure, 2120 Whitney Road in Memphis, right off I-40.
Flo here from Progressive to tell you how you get more than great savings with us. You get customer service access through our mobile app, online chat, or by phone.
That's a lot of ways I can get in touch with you. I see what's going on here. You can't name favorites, but I'm your number one customer.
Actually, we offer all our customers these ways to contact us.
I'm sure you give just any customer your personal
company
contact info.
Well, you did call us more than any other customer this year. So in that sense, you are our number one customer.
Get help from Progressive through the website, app, chat, or phone. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Jenkins Floors and More invites you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
Sports 56 traffic.
It happened a little bit earlier. The fire department's still over here on 40 eastbound at Hollywood. Also a wreck in the Midtown area. It's going to be 40 west just past Chelsea. And it looks like they were still taking care of that oversized load there a few minutes ago that was trying to get up there on 55 northbound at 3rd. Hey, shop now and save during this holiday season at Weimer's Jewelry, located at 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure studios, and joining us now to talk some college football, Coach Tommy West joins us now. Coach, thanks so much for joining us. A lot of games to discuss, some championship games to discuss as well for this weekend, but we did get the final college football playoff rankings before the official college football playoff rankings that we'll get on Sunday. What did you think about the biggest debate today of Miami dropping all the way behind Alabama and Alabama getting that spot at number 11?
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed in that, really, and I understand the conferences, and but I mean, you got to think, to me, Alabama, it's the brand, is what it is, and that's what moved it. And so I don't know. I mean, there are going to be arguments all the way around. I know that. You thought when you had 4 that there was a lot of arguments. It seems like there's more now with 12 than there were with 4. So I don't know. I personally, I thought Miami should have been the pick in there. But it's hard to keep 3 out. We've said all along this year that we thought 3 SEC teams would get in. And I think just the strength of the conference and then the Alabama brand got them in.
Yeah, it sure seems that way, Coach West. Before we go any further, and Coach West, it broke last week after we had you on Wednesday. Your college coach, Coach Bill Battle, passed away, and I know you were particularly close to Coach Battle, and a great photo of y'all, one of my favorite sports photos ever, made the rounds of y'all talking on the sideline. It looked like he was talking, and Coach number 23 was doing most of the listening, kind of like the player should. But I know you have a lot of fondness for Coach Battle.
I do, and that picture didn't look like he was asking me where I was going for dinner, did it?
No, it did not. It looked like he was saying, you need to block that edge defensive end.
I'm going to tell you, you talking about a fine human being and just a great, great guy, very fortunate to play, a tremendous influence on my life. And the thing that people realize, I think most people that have ever been around Coach Battle knew how good a guy he was. What they didn't know is how tough an individual he was. He was extremely tough guy. Didn't come across that way because he was so. But I'm telling you now, on the field and at that time when he played at Alabama, they had boxing, the SEC boxing, and Coach Battle was 3-time heavyweight champ boxer in the Southeastern Conference.
I've never heard that. Wow, that's something. I've never heard that story, Coach.
Wow.
Tough guy. Just love him to death. And, he did some great things with Tennessee. You go back and look at his record at Tennessee, and you're like, he got fired. Crap, they should have built a statue of him up there. But then he gets out, and it was funny. Coach Bryant put him in business selling windows, and he was across the sea in Europe selling windows. Made a bunch of money there. Coach Bryant kind of set him up. He was one of Coach's favorites. Then started the logo business and went crazy with it. So the last chance I had to talk with him was when we played Alabama at Middle here, and he was the AD. And he came down. I got a chance to visit with him before the game. And matter of fact, we spent a little bit of old time. Then we talked more about Coach Saban and what made him good than anything. But just a great guy, and I feel very fortunate to have been a part.
And he was one of your favorites. And coming up, Coach West, is December 16th, coming up in a few weeks. And December 16th, 1974 was the night you guys beat Maryland with Randy White, and y'all had a boxing match that night. And Coach Battle that night, he wins the game, and then minutes after the game, his father passed away, and my parents took me to that game, and I told him that story a long time ago. And every year I would text him on December 16th, Merry Christmas to you and yours. And he knew why I was texting on that day, because that was a special day for us to go to the Liberty Bowl that night. And it was a sad but special day for him.
Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you, I'll never forget what he said when he got fired at Tennessee. He came in to talk to us, to talk to the team. And he said, guys, I've always tried to tell you that to be a championship program, you got to do it with class. And he said, class to me is when they run you out of town, you make it look like you're leading a parade.
Right.
And that always kind of stuck with me.
Yeah, it did. You mentioned boxing. In a lot of these rivalry games last weekend, I think we needed boxing gloves at a lot of them. What would you tell your team in victory you better not do? And in defeat, I know what you told them. You go over, shake their hand, you head to the locker room.
Exactly. And, one, they're going to have a rule. We're getting into what we talked about last week. The discipline, because of the NIL, because of the portal, because these kids now, discipline's going to get. I think it's going to be harder and harder for some of these coaches to discipline their players. I couldn't do it. There's no way, because that's not how I was brought up. I mean, if you're going to be the head coach, you're going to tell them what they're going to do and what they're not going to do, and how they're going to act and how they're going to react. But they're going to have to make a rule about it to get it stopped, probably.
Yeah, they got to do something. That was wild on Saturday.
Well, I mean, and you don't, even the ones that retaliated. I mean, you don't want your guys to get involved, but you're training them and you're teaching them all the time. Is, hey, we're playing at home. This is our home field. Mm-hmm. Nobody comes into our home place. I mean, you're teaching them and you're training them all those things.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden somebody comes into your place, wins, and then wants to plant a flag in the middle of your field. Well, I mean, I'm kind of stuck both ways. I'd have a hard time myself. If I was a player, I'd have probably had a hard time with that.
And I mentioned yesterday, or maybe Monday it was, that several years ago South Carolina and Clemson had a Donnybrook, and Lou Holtz self-imposed. He banned himself from going to a ball game. I was watching that unfold with Ohio State, and I thought, Ohio State, you better clear it, or somebody could come in and go, your season's over. You're not going to the playoffs.
Absolutely. It's a mess. Like I've said, if they don't put some rules and put some teeth into this thing with the portal and the NIL and everything going on, I'm afraid we're going to have more and more issues.
Mm-hmm. Coach, this weekend, the SEC championship game, Georgia and Texas will meet again. The first time these two teams met, it was all Georgia, 30-15 in Austin. What do you expect to see Saturday in that championship game?
Well, we all know now it's hard when you get two good teams together. It's hard to beat them twice in the same year. It's hard to do. Then you look at I didn't realize this. I was reading today. Kirby Smart is 2-4 in SEC championship games, and now he's 2-1 in national championship games. So I don't know. I just think it's hard. Georgia is the funniest team to me this year. Now they played that schedule of not only playing Tennessee, Alabama, Texas, Ole Miss, but they also played Clemson, if you remember, to start the season. So they've had a heck of a schedule. But they can look really bad at times, a la first half against Alabama. They look really bad. First half against Georgia Tech the other night, for 3 quarters, they look really bad. But then when they turn it on, they can come back in a hurry. So I don't know. Texas, you got to have a quarterback to win it, and Texas has got 2. Playing pretty good. Georgia's, it's going to be like a home game for Georgia, playing in Atlanta. I don't know. I think Texas will come in and play much better than they did the last time.
Everybody that watched that regular season game, we all saw the same thing. Texas could not block them. How much can change between that in that time to now that you can block them? Is it scheme? Because if it's personnel, you got the same personnel you had when you played regular season.
That's right. The book on Texas, and I think Sarkisian's changing it some, but the book on Texas for years and years and years has always been that it's a country club school, and they've never been a real physical football team. Now they won it, with Mac there the 1 year, but that's just overall that's kind of been the book. I think it's changing a little bit. I would look to see Georgia really try to be physical in this game.
Yeah. Well, it should be a fun one, and could see it a third time in the playoffs. I know that was yesterday. The bracket that they rolled out on ESPN had that as a potential matchup further into the playoffs. So that'd be wild if we got that 3 times this season.
Absolutely. The fun thing right now, I've enjoyed watching all the politicking going on, trying to get the head coaches trying to get their team in. It's got to be fun to watch and to listen to.
I like the AD squabbling.
Yeah, I saw where the ACC AD is, the commissioner now is trying to get involved with Miami. But the bottom line is, like the thing I would say to Miami, how do you go lose to Syracuse? If you're good enough, then and everything's on the line for you, how do you go lose to Syracuse? I mean that kind of squashes. It's like I know I know Ole Miss, South Carolina, they're all, making their points, and I would say Ole Miss, as good as you were, you can't lose to Kentucky and Florida. You
just can't.
No, you're much better. And really LSU, too, when we get right down to it. But that's a rival game that can go either way. I get it. But Kentucky at home and Florida, you can't lose to those guys. It kind of kills your argument.
But I also would say, how does Bama go and get 40 rung up on them by Vandy? Yeah. And since then, Vandy's high-scoring outpoint's been 24 against anybody.
I agree 100%. I look back at, I enjoy studying this stuff, and I look back at I was thinking about Ole Miss, and I think they can help themselves. Alabama's got that brand that with all the national championships and the SEC championships, and Ole Miss is going to fight that because they don't have that brand, because they have they've never played in the SEC championship game. The thing I think that Ole Miss could help themselves is in scheduling. I'd love to see them schedule a USC, a Michigan, or somebody early in the year, and add to their resume.
Mm-hmm.
Put something on it. And like Alabama played Wisconsin,
that
LSU played. Yeah, absolutely. LSU played Southern Cal this year. South Carolina played Clemson. Georgia plays Clemson this year. I mean, instead of, I think, if I remember right, Ole Miss had Wake. Was kind of there.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't help you at the end.
And Coach, I thought I was at a Wake, being at Wake.
but at the end, when they start looking at all of it, that doesn't help you at all. If that had been a name team, you always look for. I used to tell ourselves, let's look for a team that's got a pretty good reputation that's kind of on the downer right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's find one of those and try to go cut them.
Yeah, that's smart. I mean, get that brand recognition, but maybe a team that is on the downward spiral. Coach, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll do it again next week. And next week, we'll have a bracket in our hands.
Yeah, we'll know exactly next week. It'll be interesting because there'll be some upsets this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be
Enjoy
fun.
the games, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Coach Tommy West joining us to talk some college football as it's championship weekend, some big
Best
games.
segment of the year.
And it is a
the
really,
year, the
really
week, all of it.
good segment. We need to get to a break because when we come back, Tiger basketball, they're back at home tonight against La Tech here in just a couple hours. That newly ranked top 25 Tiger squad will take the floor against La Tech. We'll break that down a little bit, talk about what we're going to be looking for. We'll do that next on Sports Time.
Everyone needs protection, whether you're on the field or on the road, so make sure you have the best. Bob Simpson State Farm Insurance can buckle you up with auto insurance, can back you up with life and health insurance, cover your business whether it's starting, growing, or maturing, and don't forget to insure your home, no matter if you're an owner or a renter. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call Bob Simpson today at 901-381-1233 or go online and get a free quote at bobsimpson.org. Stay protected with your good neighbor, Bob Simpson.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up. I've already made around $200-$300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code YEAR to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code YEAR for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code YEAR for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
The 2025 Range Rover Sport sits right at the heart of the Land Rover lineup, offering a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility. Smaller and more agile than a full-size Range Rover, it's a great option
Well, Penny Hardaway and his squad back at FedEx Forum tonight after the West Coast trip that included Maui, 3 games in 3 days. Tigers go 3-1 on their West Coast trip when you throw in what they did against San Francisco. But back at home, taking on Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech comes in. They were preseason picks to win Conference USA. They won the first 7 games of the season. Saturday dropped their first game 73-70 against Southern. Now they'll meet Memphis, by far the toughest opponent La Tech has seen this year.
Is this the best non-Maui team the Tigers will have faced? Are they better than Mizzou? Are they better than UNLV? Are they better than San Francisco?
La Tech?
Yeah.
I do not think so. I think...
What does Ken Palm, what's his prediction on tonight?
Ken Palm has it 80-68 Memphis. So he has
14.
Yeah.
Well, that's right around the ugly number.
Ken Palm is usually pretty close to what
Does he bet?
Says. I do not know. That is
does he really
I
exist?
do not have.
Does he really exist?
I do know that part. I don't have much.
He really exists. He bets, Darren.
Yeah, that's a great point by you.
All right, we're going off 12.5 for Tiger Bankroll because that's what I sent it out this morning as. I know it's moved, but we're going to stay at 12.5 because Connor's already made his pick. Connor at 925 for the year, 4-3 on picks. And it's been a mix. He's had mostly the Tigers. He's had the Tigers every time out except for 2. And he goes 100 Louisiana Tech. Darian.
I am going give $50, and I'm going to give the 12. It's 12.5, right?
12.5.
Yep, I'm going to give the 12.5.
All right, Darian's at 11.25 for the year. Of course, 5-2 on picks. And Darian, he's been mostly Tigers. He's gone against a time or 2, maybe once, as I peruse it. Yeah, you had UNLV. Every time else, the Tigers. Bryant, you are 5-2 for the year as well. Up 11.40, leading back to your 2 years ago. Tiger bankroll prowess. It was still
very
one of the
early in the season.
Stunners of all time. You're 5-2, and you've been fairly mixed.
Yeah, I've been pretty mixed with this team. Still trying, or I guess up until Maui, really still trying to figure them out.
Tigers are 6-1 against the spread.
They've been really good, and that only loss has been their only loss of the season against Auburn when they were 8.5-point underdogs, somewhere around there. This is a tough one because you come back off of what you did in Maui. I think it's going to be tough. I will take La Tech to cover this one for $15. See if there's anything to that Maui hangover.
15, huh?
Yeah, I'm not confident in this game at all.
Did you go straight to the Sonic coin changer for that?
Yes. I'm using my change from lunch for this bet.
15, huh?
Shouldn't be that afraid of La Tech. I mean,
don't spend it all in one place.
6-1, but just lost against Southern at home.
That's the thing. I'm not afraid of La Tech at all. I think the Tigers win this game.
You're scared of the hangover effect.
We don't blow people out too. Do you know that? You notice that? Like
yeah, I'm just worried. This feels like one of those games. Tigers come back, a lot of energy. Tigers dominate the game, and then kind of late in that one, you're
backdoor
up
like
16,
Jameis.
Yeah, and they knock down a couple shots, and it's an 11-point win, 12.
When was the last 25, 30-point win we've had? You know, one of those just bludgeon blowout. We don't beat teams that way.
Ohio 24, didn't they? Yeah,
24?
94-7.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of times we don't drag teams that we're supposed to, that the big blue bloods do. So
this is probably the worst I've felt about picking a game because I think the Tigers are going to win like easily.
I think San Francisco is a better team than this team.
San Francisco is much better.
Y'all all laid it out for me. Tigers win, but I think it's right around the number.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm going to take Louisiana Tech. I'm 2-5 for the year. I've been riding against the Tigers. I've had the Tigers one time, and that was at UNLV. I've been go against every time, been scalded. May continue it tonight.
So it's me and Connor giving, and you guys get. All right, me, Connor, and Mr. Ken, right?
Yeah,
I'm at 700.
Mr. Ken Palm.
I'm going 300.
Brett,
La Tech.
Oh my gosh, Brett, you better feel good about this one. I mean, obviously you do.
300, La Tech.
Let's say obviously he does.
He's got 700.
Yeah, I know.
You run out of money.
Another reason I was adamant on staying at the 12.5 from this morning.
Yeah, that's
I need every
smart.
point I can get.
You need everything you can get. Wow, I understand now why you were scoffing at my $15. Good Lord.
$15.
Wow. Okay.
I'm doing that in my best trading places. The $1.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, $1.
Y'all bet
Mortimer.
$1.
Have you seen Trading Places before?
yeah,
Good, good. I'm glad you
$15.
Yes.
You wrecked my life over $15.
We'll see what happens tonight. I think, like I said, Kempom has this a 14-point.
I guess with inflation, that would be the bet now by Randolph and Mortimer Duke. Instead of $1, it'd be $15.
It would probably be around there. I should also say Tigers back to number 1 in 3-point percentage. That happened over the weekend. So
good. Look at
46.9%
overtook Houston,
Tigers.
Right? Houston at 2.
Well, Houston, if they were, they've dropped to number 5.
Okay.
Bradley's right behind them at 46.4%.
Okay, that's who was at 1 last week when we checked.
Interesting. So a lot has happened in a week, I guess, for Houston to drop that far from 1 to 5. But we'll see what the Tigers can do tonight. FedEx Forum against Louisiana Tech. Hopefully it's a big win, but hopefully for Brett's sake, it is less than 13 points because he definitely needs a win. But let's go ahead and wrap up.
Onions. That's what they say, right?
Oh, he needs them. He needs them. Let's get to a break. Wrap up our first hour. When we come back, talk some more college football. David Cohn, the co-host of Crane and Company, he'll join us. We'll talk college football. We'll talk about what the selection committee said last night with their college football rankings. We'll preview some of these conference championship games. We'll do all that next on Sports Time.
Someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director of Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199. There's no gift that's more beautiful, more personal, and more meaningful than the message you bring to Genesis is offering 5 years of 0 interest financing on any holiday purchase with this special offer. Everything's offered. Just one payment, divide the price by 60, and match your payment. So come to Genesis Diamonds, buy our experts help you choose that perfect gift. This holiday season, spread your payments over 5 years. Get holiday store hours, directions, finance details at genesisdiamonds.com. Genesis Diamonds.
Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis with John Harden. Weekdays from 11 to 1. Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It's already trying to get busy in a couple of spots out here on 40 East as you come past Hollywood, Wolford, headed on over to White Stations, traveling south of Memphis in pretty good shape, at least at the moment. On 55 south of South Haven, all the way down into DeSoto County, it has tried its best to build over here on 240 East from Mill Branch out to 385 Bill Morris Parkway. Shop now and save during this holiday season. Where? Weimer's Jewelry, located 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett, as we start our second hour, and joining us like he does every single Wednesday afternoon, David Cohn, the co-host of Crane and Company, joins us to talk some college football. David, thanks so much for joining us. Let's just go ahead and get into it. The biggest headline today is the fact that Alabama has jumped Miami. Miami drops after their loss to Syracuse, and they are out of the bracket. Alabama in the bracket. What did you make of what the committee had to say last night?
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I'll start at the very top. I want to try and be very measured with my words about the Commissioner Ward Manuel. He's a Michigan man. He's done some good things as the athletic director of Michigan. At the same time, I really wish that he could go and articulate the reasoning better than he has been on national TV, especially as someone who covers the sport for a living and has to articulate my reasoning live 90 minutes every single day on camera. I was left more confused after hearing him talk in many instances, and that to me is unacceptable. As far as Alabama at 9-3 over the 10-2 Miami, and Miami is splitting those three-loss SEC teams, here's what I'll say. The college football playoff bracket, the AP bracket, and the Crane and Company bracket, as well as many others that I've seen, are almost identical, except for a few things right there at 11, 12, and 13. Right, most of the college football playoff teams are the same, no matter which bracket you check out. I'm not going to sit here and cry over 3-loss and 2-loss teams who are fighting it out in the 12-team bracket. Isn't that what we all agreed on, right? Go back to 2004. An undefeated Auburn team doesn't get a crack at the BCS National Championship, and we said that's unacceptable. So then we have a 4-team playoff. And until last year, where an undefeated Florida State team didn't have a crack at a national championship, or even a 1-loss, Georgia team who lost an SEC championship doesn't get a crack at the national championship. We said, hey, wouldn't it be better off if we expand, because for the first time we have had some teams that can possibly win the national championship who aren't getting a crack at it. Well, now we have 12 teams, and if you really want to be in there and you want me to care about you being in there, then don't lose 3 games and don't lose 2 games. So that's just generally how I feel. Now, on the specifics of Alabama getting in right now over a 2-loss Miami team, there's one or two ways to look at this, boys. Either one, you could say, look at them, here they go again, always favoring Alabama. They're going to put them in no matter what. It's the brand bias. They're putting them right there on the bubble, and maybe that is what's happening. But I also think the committee members could legitimately be trying to decide what the 12 best teams are, and they're saying, hey, right now, we think that a 9-3 Alabama team is better than this 10-2 Miami team, and we think a 10-2 Miami team is legitimately better than a 9-3 Ole Miss and South Carolina, which is very plausible. Maybe I'm being too naive. Maybe I'm giving too much benefit of the doubt, but I hope that that's what's in the heart of the committee. Now, the last thing I'll say before you react is they are clearly saying that every record is not the same. And just a few weeks ago, isn't that what college football fans across the country were screaming for? Hey, just because you're 11-1 or 10-2, that's not equal to some teams that are 9-3, right? Based off strength of schedule and things like that. Well, in several instances, we've now seen multiple 10-2 teams be put ahead of 11-1 SMU and 11-1 Indiana, and I think that that's right. And now we've seen our first instance of a 9-3 team being put ahead of a 10-2 Miami team. So say what you will about it, at least the committee from that perspective is saying, hey, you wanted us to value strength of schedule, we're doing so. And as long as it stays in a smoke-filled room with a committee behind closed doors, boys, this is what we're always going to get.
David, first before I reply, I want to say, hail to the victors in your alma mater on that great win at the Horseshoe. I know you enjoyed it.
Well, one quick word on that. You know, ever since I've been affiliated with the rivalry, which my mother was born in Columbus, Ohio, so really her family, they were Buckeyes for a long time.
Well, she was born right there by the stadium then, because the hospital is right by the stadium.
No doubt, no doubt. And I haven't heard from her side of the family for a long time, ever since I committed to play at Michigan. But my affiliation began when Lloyd Carr offered me a scholarship in 2005, and I committed. And, you know, obviously, I've seen some Michigan teams we thought were as good as those Buckeyes teams, and we got run out of the gym. And then for the last 3 years, we've seen some tightly contested teams play each other, and Michigan's been fortunate enough to win those. But I always heard these stories about, hey, what makes this rivalry so great are the instances where one of the teams has a subpar record and the other team is unbeaten, and that mediocre team spoils the season for their rival. I've just never seen that until this year with a 500 Michigan team go on the road to the Horseshoe to play the number 2 team in the country and pull off the victory. I still can't believe it, but hats off to that defensive performance by Wink Martindale and all his boys, Mason Graham and Markai Page played the best game that I've seen him play. So hats off to that group. What a win.
Yeah. And the quarterback, Davis Warren, goes 9 of 16 for 62 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, and he beats Ohio State. That brings up my question. Mm-hmm. David, I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't going to get in the whole cat fight over the 3 SEC 9-3s against Miami. I was just going to take my whipping. 10-2 has preference over the 9-3s from the SEC. But the committee last night, they've opened this Pandora's box. I didn't do it; they did it. So I'm going to ask you point blank: who would you take if you were taking the best teams in college football? Would you take 9-3 Ole Miss or 10-2 Ohio State?
Okay, so would I take Ole Miss or the Buckeyes? That's the one you're putting me to, because I would still take the Buckeyes at this point. I think that that to me isn't as interesting of a question as legitimately the one between Miami and Alabama. I think that is a tough spot. Miami #1 in the nation in offense.
Why Bama over Ole Miss though? In the Miami debate.
And I think the three loss SEC teams is also very interesting. That's what triggers a head-to-head there, and that's where I try and put, in situations like that where they're all in the same conference, I try and lean on the conference tiebreakers and say, hey, by your own conference's standings and tiebreaker rules, Alabama would win out in the head-to-head, which makes it really tough for South Carolina to jump either one of those teams. Obviously, with Ole Miss and Alabama, they didn't play each other, so it's a little tougher in that instance. But that's where you trigger the tiebreak rules again inside the conference. As far as the Buckeyes go, yeah, I would take a 10-2 Buckeyes team who lost by 1 on the road at Oregon, and then this past weekend, as great as it was for me personally, and as painful as it was for them, that is still a rivalry game. I think that they deserve to be in there. I don't know if they'll find themselves hosting. It's going to be very interesting to see if their matchup with Tennessee holds true and whether or not that game's in Knoxville or at the Horseshoe. But just one more comment on your statistics for Davis Warren, who now has a victory in the game. I saw a photo got posted with the entire Michigan quarterback room, and it said passes over 40 yards, 0 this season. Losses to Ohio the last 4 years, also 0. And I just think back to the likes of Chad Henne, who was the starting quarterback when I was at Michigan. He was the best that I had ever seen do it. He was a worthy competitor who I said, hey, if that guy's the starter and that's who I can't beat out, then that's fine. Goes on to win multiple Super Bowls with the Chiefs. I just think of how great of a quarterback he was. Never was able to beat the Buckeyes, and yet that performance by Davis Warren, as mediocre and subpar as it was, still found a way to beat the Buckeyes, and that shows you what a team sport this is.
It sure does. Legendary performance, even with that stat line, will be remembered for 100 years by beating the Buckeyes on the banks of the Olentangy. David, you talk about the photo or the picture they took for Twitter, and the discussion about how we got to stop the flag planting and what ensued from there. Here's my contention. I fundamentally agree with everybody that says that, all right, maybe we don't need to do the flag stuff, that really incites everybody. But what I'm scared of is then we're going to have the next thing you shouldn't do. So we eliminate planting the flag. We all agree that that's not going to happen. That's forbidden. Well, what's going to say in 5 or 10 years? Don't have that tweet doing that. We don't want that quarterback room inciting us. I'm afraid we go to the next thing they tell us you can't do in victory, and never, ever in history has the loser been able to dictate the terms of surrender.
Wait, so you're saying that totalitarian measures often follow a slippery slope path? Yeah, I think you're definitely onto something. I have several thoughts here on the flag planting. Let me just start by saying, one, all of these fields are turf. No one's planting the flag. It's not a
so
tree.
True, David.
Right?
Thank you.
If it were a tree, why wouldn't the Buckeyes be thrilled? Their mascot is a nut, for God's sakes. Okay, so no one's going and planting permanently a tree in the middle of your field. What they're doing is they're taking the flag to the middle of your field and they're celebrating. Multiple teams have done it against Michigan this year. Texas did it. Michigan went up the tunnel on about their business. I heard that Oregon did it. Michigan went up the tunnel, took their loss like a man. So if you're favored by 21 points, you're the number 2 team in the country, all you've said is that your biggest rival only cheated the last 3 years to beat you, and that you have spent $20 million to assemble the greatest roster in the history of the sport, and then you lose to your rival at home, and they take the flag to the middle of the field to celebrate. Get off the field. Stop complaining. Now, having said that, when I saw the video, I believe it was of Jack Sawyer sitting there screaming, being held back, saying, no, I'm not going to let him celebrate with the flag on our field. I feel for that, too. I want that type of guy. If I was a coach on a team, I want that guy rather than someone who's just fine and doesn't matter and it's not painful to lose. So I have absolutely no problem with what Michigan did, and no one should, and I only have a little bit of a problem with what the Buckeyes did. On an individual level, yeah, I want guys to protect their turf. It's just, hey, I wish you had done that much fighting during the game, and you may have ended up winning the football game. The last thing I'll say about it, the Michigan guy in the Michigan attire who ended up grabbing that flag up so that it didn't get taken to the Buckeyes locker room was none other than Jason Avant, one of the greatest wide receivers in Michigan history, played multiple years for the Philadelphia Eagles, and now he said, despite my NFL career and my legendary status as a Michigan football player, I'm now known as the Flag Man.
Yes, sir, and he will go down in Michigan football lore for standing up for his side. I agree with every syllable you just said. I think I mostly have stated that this week, haven't I, Brian? Yep. And I'm with you. I don't like the defeated being able to tell the winner how they should act. The defeated should shake hands and head to the locker room. Now, I like Jack Sawyer, the football player. I like the play that he made that was going to be made. Who was the announcer? Gus Johnson.
Yeah. Gus Johnson who should stop calling that game, by the way.
He was screaming so loudly during the Sawyer interception. First of all, it wasn't that great of a play. If the young quarterback puts any air under the ball, it's a walk-in touchdown. He threw a fastball when he should have thrown a changeup, and Gus Johnson goes crazy, making it the play of all time in the history of that rivalry. What I would say to Jack Sawyer is like what you said. You defend that goal line and you keep that scoreboard, you keep those points off half as much as you want to fight and keep the flag from being planted.
Yeah, no doubt. And look, there is a certain level of conduct that should be beneath a competitor. It should be beneath young men, and it should be beneath the dignity of the sport. I just kind of saw what everyone else saw on television, and keep in mind it was moments after I was just absolutely shocked that Michigan held on to win this football game. I wasn't there on the field. I heard that one of the police officers got in the middle and he ended up having to maybe go to the hospital or something. I absolutely hate that for him. But there was nothing about this that rose to the level to me to say this is an absolute embarrassment for the sport or for the rivalry. I just didn't see it that way. And another thing is there are a lot of people who did see it that way, who said, no, this is an embarrassment for the game, but who also want to go around telling everyone that this is the greatest rivalry in the history of the sport. Well, when you elevate one opponent above all the others and you do want to maintain the greatest rivalry in not just our sport, but a lot of people think in all of sports, then sometimes instances like this are going to happen, especially in the heat of the moment. Guys are going to have a lot of pride. Again, I don't condone necessarily what the Buckeyes did, trying to fight more after the game than during the game. I just say, as someone who did run out there for 4 years, as someone who still can barely sleep the week of that game, and I'm 14 years removed from, and I didn't even get action in that game. As someone who can barely sleep that week because it's so important, I do understand it from all sides.
Yeah. Talking to David Cohn. He joins us every Wednesday to talk college football. He's co-host of Crane and Company. Going back to the college football playoff rankings, it feels like now the biggest game in terms of what does the bracket look like becomes the ACC championship game. If Clemson wins, they'll get that automatic spot. If SMU wins, they'll get that automatic spot. And now the conversation has kind of turned to, if SMU loses, do they stay in the top 12, or do they get bumped out in place? Maybe one of those SEC teams is in there. Where do you stand on SMU if they lose this game? And what did you think of what Rhett Lashley had to say? I don't know if you saw it. He had an interview with On3 today and kind of talked about how if they weren't playing based on what the committee said, they would be in, but because they're playing, they could be out. Where do you stand on all this?
No, he's exactly right, and hopefully we're going to be getting Coach Lashley on as well before the playoffs start. Boys, I've got a funny feeling. Something's starting to smell a little bit funny to me, just like it did last year. When I see Alabama at that 11th spot, the committee could have the best of intentions. They could legitimately just have no brand bias and think that Alabama is the best 3-loss team and they're the 11th best team in the country. I start to really, really get a funny feeling when I think of this SMU and Clemson game, and here's why. Because let's say, and SMU's a heck of a football team to make the conference championship in their first year. Kudos to everything Coach Lashley has done, and they might go out there and win it. They might go beat Clemson by 20 points, get the first round bye, and win this whole tournament. I don't know. I have the utmost respect for everything Coach Lashley has done. But at the same time, let's just say that SMU goes out there against Clemson, who's a heck of a football team, and I think they've got a really good case to make that maybe they're the best 9-3 team. If they go out there and they beat SMU the same way that Indiana was beaten by the Buckeyes a few weeks ago, and it really starts to turn ugly, and you can see that one of those teams just is not the same caliber on the field, and that being SMU, I just have a funny feeling that they could penalize them and they could put them back multiple spots, and Alabama finds themselves in, even though Clemson has beaten SMU. Now, I'm not saying that I want that to be the case, right? Because obviously the detriment to that is that conference championship games will be toxic. Everything that Lane Kiffin complained about several weeks ago when I was telling him to shut his mouth and just focus on football, everything that he's saying and the concern is going to come true if a team like SMU is penalized for losing in their conference championship, rather than, like Coach Lashley said, if we just happen to get COVID this week, then we would already be in. I get worried because it's going to be the last thing the committee sees from an SMU team that I guarantee you not a lot of people on that committee have watched every single week. Now all eyes are going to be on SMU against Clemson in a huge game, and the committee has to select their Sunday picks less than 24 hours after. If we had been selecting a Sunday pick 24 hours after Indiana lost to the Buckeyes, a lot of people didn't have Indiana in their top 12, and I was one of them before Alabama lost that week, and then Ole Miss lost that same week, and that sort of helped prop Indiana up. I just get worried if the committee says, hey, it's not our job to worry about the legitimacy of conference championship games moving forward. It's our job to pick the 12 best teams, and the SMU we saw yesterday isn't one of the 12 best teams, so we're not going to put them in there. they could technically be in the right based off their duties, but it could have long-term ramifications for the sport.
David, the rat you smell is my speculation, and I have gone on about it for a while today. But here's my speculation. I think Greg Sankey vis-a-vis Hunter Yurachek, the SEC rep, the SEC person in the room, the advocate for the SEC, I think they decided there's no way we can get 2 in, but we got to get one more SEC in, and I think they have cut a back-scratching deal with the Big Ten. We get Bama in, and y'all get to host at Ohio State, first round of the playoffs.
Well, I hope that that's not the case. Obviously, like I said, when you have a committee making deals in the back room and you have ESPN, who has a television deal with some of these conferences but not others, and they also have the television deal for the playoffs, of course, corruption and collusion is certainly possible. But I also, maybe it's slightly more practical than that. You guys asked me before the season how I thought it would shake out. And everybody was coming on our show saying, well, six SEC teams are going to get in. Well, at least 5 SEC teams are going to get in. They're the best teams. They weren't taking into account who all has to play each other and how the conference could possibly cannibalize itself. And now all of a sudden this past week we're looking around like, wait, are they only going to get 3 teams in? So you guys asked me before the season, what are my picks? I said, here they are. 4 SEC teams, 4 Big Ten teams, 1 each from ACC and Big 12. You got the group of 5 team that'll make it, and preseason as we sit now, I had Notre Dame in there. Well, Notre Dame is going to make it. We are going to get at least one of the 3 others that I mentioned, ACC, Big 12, and the group of 5. I think that the committee, maybe they're not trying, or maybe all of the people who are selecting aren't cognizant or trying, but I think there are some people involved who would love nothing more than if there were an even split between 4 SEC, 4 Big Ten, the 2 big moneymakers, the 2 conferences that could really swallow up the sport in years to come. They'd love nothing more than in the first year, at least, of the 12-team playoff for there to be an even split so it doesn't look like they're playing favorites. I hope that that's not what's being taken into account. I hope that if they legitimately think Miami is better than Alabama, that they put Miami in. But again, Miami hasn't helped themselves at all by not being able to stop anybody on defense, and they're going to have to contend with that.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it all shakes out this weekend. It should be a lot of fun. And Sunday, we'll see what the bracket looks like. David, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks, David.
Thank you very much, David. David Cohn with us, and he shoots his shot, doesn't he?
He always brings it. David's so much fun to talk to, especially after what we learn with the committee and all of that, and he brings it every single week.
The Crane boys and David are not bashful, and I think if you are on the airwaves, of course, needs to be backed up with facts and with some reason. You should be bringing it. This is not I don't know, I don't have an opinion on that. I'd rather not get into that business. We're in the opinion business.
Mm-hmm.
And
David brings it every week. He knows the assignment.
And David brings it strongly. I think it would be Miami. But if Brian, Clemson goes out and just pace SMU 45-3.
Yeah.
Then it's Miami, not Ole Miss.
Yes.
But
would there be another team that gets in? Because
Clemson would be the ACC champ.
Yeah. Because then SMU would be out,
and SMU would be out. Miami appears to be out now. Yeah. And Ward Manuel, and David was much more diplomatic than me. I think Ward Manuel is just one of the imbeciles of all time. The word salad he threw out, I had not heard word salad like that in about 8 weeks since the election ended. But it just made no sense last night. And he said last night that the case is closed on the other 2 3-loss SEC teams.
Well, that's what he said. If you're not playing, you're done.
Why wouldn't Sunday morning there be that debate, since we have opened up the 3 versus 2-loss debates? Brett didn't do it. Brett did not do it. They did it with Alabama and Miami. Why wouldn't Hunter Yurachek say we're going to have more debate?
Yeah. I mean, it's a good question, and I don't know, because, again, we have no idea what they're looking at. It feels like there's no answers, and it seems like the wild, wild west in that room whenever they're discussing.
And everybody, when after you've been in the foxhole and you had to have your fight, all these committee members, they got to go back home to their boosters and to their bosses and their schools, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And isn't it a lot easier for Hunter Yurachek to go back to his big money boosters and say, yeah, I had to fight for Bama. I couldn't fight for Ole Miss.
That's what it seems like he's doing right now. Lee.
Because in SEC historical peer groups, Arkansas and Ole Miss are more of a peer than either of the other two with Alabama.
Yeah.
Agreed?
Agreed.
And he can't go back to his bosses and say, yeah, I've been moonlighting on this second job all the while y'all are paying me, and I went and fought like hell for Ole Miss after I didn't get Lane Kiffin, I didn't get Chris Beard, and all the humiliation they put us through.
Yeah, it wouldn't be fun for him.
No, it wouldn't be, and it gets down to self-fulfilling things you have to do.
Yeah, but it definitely looks, and I think
selfish things you have to do.
It looks like it, and I think another thing I heard, I think it was Greg this morning that was talking. I forget who they had on talking about the playoffs and the rankings and everything, and he said, well, explain to me then why, if now we're saying, look at, it doesn't matter if you're just a 2-loss team and 3 loss can be in front of 2 loss, why in the world is what makes Miami better than Ole Miss and South Carolina but not better than Alabama, and just putting Miami right there in front or behind Alabama in front of those two teams, it just we get no information, it doesn't make a ton of sense.
And I was more than ready. Had resigned myself to kind of sailing along in the being at the 9-3 bad table.
Yep.
And 3 losses speaks volumes. Again, for Bama to only score 3 points in Norman.
Yeah.
And lose 24-3 just 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Brett, that's another good point because the at least what Ward Manuel said last night talking about Miami was one of the things he brought up was the fact that they've lost 2 games the last 3 or 4 weeks, whatever it was, or their last 3 or 4 games, they lost 2 of them. But, you look at recent history with Alabama, and they went out there and laid an egg against Oklahoma.
And for South Carolina, I all jokes aside, look, you lost head-to-head. That's a big barometer. You can talk about the bad calls against LSU. Bad calls happen. And you can talk about Lenora Sellers being hurt. Breaking news. It's football. People get hurt.
Yeah. It's part of the game.
At Jim's Place Grill, you will enjoy your dining experience. And for this time of year, everybody's looking for the perfect place to have the perfect office get-together, big family get-together, maybe a neighborhood get-together. Keep Jim's Place Grill in mind. They can have a private area for you to enjoy the holiday celebration or just enjoy it in the restaurant or in the bar area. Over 100 years of charcoal grill steaks, over 100 years of Christmas time memories, celebrations, family time, lasting great memories. At Jim's Place, the Terrace family with their touch for our community with recipes that date back to the beginning in downtown to now in Collierville at the railroad tracks at Poplar and Houston Levee. Online at jimsplacegrill.com. Don't forget the E in grill, where every steak is grilled perfectly over an open flame. Come to Jim's Place and taste and see and feel the difference. Lunch hours, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Dinner hours, Monday through Saturday, 5 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Since 1921, a Memphis landmark with hard work and values and a dedication to their diners, the Terrace family have created a memorable dining experience. The lunch menu, the staples like the souffle ma, the shrimp cocktail, the crab cakes, and the salad dressings, all homemade. And at dinner time, the seafood, the soups, the calamari, and those steaks, ribeye, strips, and fillets. Great bar at Jim's Place Grill in Collierville. And on Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock, we will talk about the Tigers and Louisiana Tech, as we do every Friday when we visit with Jason Munns from the Commercial Appeal, presented to you by Jim's Place Grill.
Well, we need to get to another break. When we come back, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but the Grizzlies lost last night against the Dallas Mavericks. We'll talk more about what happened in that game, what the Grizzlies have coming up next. We'll do that on Sportstime.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Jenkins Floors and More invites you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
Indulge yourself or your loved ones this season with a trip to Sissy's Log Cabin. Here, you can shop our expansive selection of designer brands, one-of-a-kind jewelry, and spectacular statement pieces, all while enjoying the Sissy's promise of unmatched quality, service, and brilliant natural diamonds. Stop by any location or shop online at sissyslogcabin.com to find your trusted jeweler for holiday memories that will last a lifetime. Make a statement this season only at Sissy's Log Cabin.
Step up your wings game at East Coast Wings and Grill. With 60 wing flavors and 7 heat indexes, do you have what it takes to turn the heat of your wings up to insanity? East Coast Wings and Grill is family friendly with a large variety menu to satisfy the whole bunch. Sign up today for their loyalty program and taste the rewards. For every dollar you spend, you collect a point. Earn 100 points and receive a $5 reward. Next to Lowe's on Highway 64 in Marlin, come try America's best wings at East Coast Wings and Grill.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery instead of dependable service and no long-term contracts. An easy choice. Call Jeff Matus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call them 382-2363. That's 382-2363. Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. I'm looking at a crash over here. It's got traffic tied up. They're trying to move the damaged vehicles right now on 40 eastbound, just past Sam Cooper before you get up to Sycamore View Road. Again, that's 40 east at Sam Cooper on this crash. And it's pretty busy over here already this time of the afternoon. It's gotten heavier in the last few minutes on 240 east from Mill Branch out to 385 Bill Morris Parkway. Shop now and save during this holiday season at Weimer's Jewelry, located 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Well, Brett, last night things did not go the Memphis Grizzlies' way, but I've got good news and I got bad news. Which do you want first?
Always the bad news.
Bad news is the Grizzlies lost. You want the good news now?
Yeah.
NBA Cup's group play's over. That was the last game
man.
of group play, which is good.
I got to wait a year for more NBA Cup?
But, Brett, even if you're the biggest NBA Cup fan out there.
And I am.
You are. It's a good thing that it's over because the Grizzlies have not played well in,
we've had our scuffles.
NBA Cup play. Only
We'll
one
next
win
year.
in the last 2 years.
Don't plant your flag on the NBA Cup on us.
No, it'd be tough to plant your flag.
Oh, that's a great
NBA
high
court.
hard one. What's going to be the next NBA thing that the winner can't do?
Well, what was it? I guess if you had teams, what Kyrie did when he went back to Boston, he started, stepping and scuffing on the lucky. Yes, maybe if the whole team goes to center court and starts kind of stepping and stomping and all that stuff, maybe I don't know.
Well, I hate to see college football getting unwritten rules.
How about
which
that?
I'm afraid this one's going to be written though.
Yeah, this one might be a little bit more than than an unwritten rule.
Don't show me up in the NBA Cup.
Yeah, well, NBA Cup, you gotta love it. I will say, none of the courts have really bothered me. I don't know if you flipped over and watched any of the Warriors and Nuggets game. I'll be completely honest, I didn't, but I saw clips from it today. Denver's court, atrocious. I mean, it is so bright yellow. It's awful. I mean, there was one clip where Steve Kerr is like on the court arguing something, and it's like lighting his face up because it's so bright yellow.
It was very, very radiant.
That's a great word for it. It was very radiant is what that court
and
was.
rarely do I agree with Steve Kerr on hardly anything, but he was right last night. He got a horrible call.
No, that was not a great call, and that's kind of made headlines. But okay.
I mean, it's just simple. If you're out of timeouts and you try to call one, well, immediately when the other team hears timeout, you freeze, right? You stop.
Yes.
And that means you acknowledge that you have a timeout. If you don't have any, it's a technical. It's universal. We've known it forever. We've seen it in bigger cases than that.
Yeah, that was definitely weird last night on TNT.
I've told you about the Shaq play and the Raw play before.
Maybe
that he made famous with his little children.
I don't think so. No.
Oh, it's the story he's told that his boys were little guys. They were playing 8 or 9 or 10-year-old little ball. And when the other team, they would be back in kind of a lazy zone, and when the other team would get to about the top of the key, they would all just run at the guy with the ball and start screaming, "Rah!" and Shaq said they would turn it over every single time to where the league they were playing said, "You got to quit doing the raw play."
That doesn't surprise me. That's great.
So one time I'm coaching little league basketball.
I love it. I love this.
And in defense, you can never call a timeout on defense, right?
Right.
Never.
And
I told one of our guys, I said, and when they get back down in offense, right when the point guard gets in there, you start screaming timeout, and he will freeze, thinking that he has one. You steal the ball from him, we'll win the game at the buzzer. And it worked, and the other parents were so mad at me. I said, there's no such thing as you can be down there yelling timeout all you want.
That's wild. Wow, look at you.
Well, I like to win.
Well, hey, I like to win as well, but I've never thought of that play. That's good stuff.
Shaq had Raw, had defensive timeout.
Had defensive timeout. Maybe
worked every time.
Raw's a
it's
better
like
better
Coach Dana
name
Kirk's
for it.
wrong way play.
Yes, works like a charm every time. All right, we've avoided talking about this game for long enough. Grizzlies lose last night, 121-116. The final score against the Dallas Mavericks, a game where Grizzlies play well for a majority of this game, but it really came down to the fourth quarter. The Grizzlies really struggle, 34% from the field, 20% from three. They take 3 free throw attempts. On the other side, the Mavericks take 26 free throw attempts. They also shot 44% from the field and went 5 for 7 from 3 in that final quarter. This game came down to what happened in the fourth quarter.
It sure did. It looked like the Grizzlies were going to have their win of the year and extended out to 7 games and felt good most of the night. Great atmosphere. Arena was hopping, but it came up short. But this is a Dallas team that I don't fear any rematch. I don't fear any time in mid to late May. If you got to go into American Airlines Center for the Grizzlies to move on to the next round, if the 7th game's there, fine, bring it on.
Yeah, no, I mean, they played well up until that final quarter, and John Morant looked really good, 31 points for him, 4 assists as well, and he was playing well, but at the end of the day, you couldn't get it done in the fourth quarter. I thought the bench wasn't great last night. They really struggled. You had Santi Aldama play really well, 15 points off the bench, but other than that, the bench really struggled. But, it came down to kind of some of the adjustments Dallas made and, drew a lot of fouls in that fourth quarter and caused a lot of fouls. And on the other side, Grizzlies just kind of were out of sorts in that final quarter.
They were out of sorts, but there were times last night that you can see this team is really close to getting it all together and going on a run. We know we've exited from a softer portion of the schedule. Last night really is the start of much tougher. Yeah. I don't fear that. I think it'll be fine in the tough patch, and that starts with Sacramento. And we were talking yesterday about you want to compare rosters. They got a beautiful roster right now. They're not playing that great. Then Saturday night against Boston. Sunday, not that great a roster and softer part of the schedule with Washington. Boy, they lost.
Whew, yeah, no, it's kind of same old with the
2 wins.
with Washington. They just never feel like they can figure it out, and certainly not this year. 2-17, ugh, not fun. And I mean that last win, good Lord, when did that last win come? 1, 2, 3, fourth game of the season. They had back-to-back wins, third and fourth game of the season.
They were at 2-2.
They were at 2-2. That's what it looks like. Yeah, they started the season back-to-back losses. Then they beat Atlanta back-to-back games. So they were 2-2 to start the season.
Feeling pretty good.
Since then, that last win was on October 30th. They have gone over a month without a win. And
they just sat out in November, huh?
Yeah, no, nobody showed up for work in November, and so yeah, I mean that should be a win. You know, I think. While I think Sacramento has a good roster, like you just mentioned, they've struggled. 10-12, they're 5-5 on the road. I think with the Grizzlies being at home, they've been really good at FedEx Forum this year. I think that's a game that you have a really good opportunity to win. Boston's gonna be tough. They're a really good team. They brought back a bunch from that team last year that won the NBA Finals. But I think over these next 4 games, I think you can come out 3-1 and feeling really good.
Sure can, and we've had some added parts of the schedule too from the Cup, haven't we?
Yeah, and I don't know exactly when those are and who they're playing.
I think get another game against Brooklyn.
I think it is. It's next Friday, or not next Friday, the Friday after, I believe, maybe. Against Brooklyn, yes, because Brooklyn is on the schedule again, and we were saying earlier this year that
Friday the 13th, right?
Friday the 13th, that's correct. Yes, Friday.
Superstitious.
December 13th. I'm superstitious, but not with the 13th.
Super or just a little bit stitious?
Super.
Super.
Brett, you know
I'm
me.
zero stitious.
You know how I roll with sports.
On Friday 13th, I'm
stuff.
looking for cracks in sidewalk. I'm looking for.
But I'm not even like
ladders
that.
to walk on.
I'm not. Friday the 13th.
Give me a crack mirror.
I don't know if I've ever come across a cracked mirror.
I don't either. Who does? Replace it if it's cracked.
Brett, I don't love when I'm driving down the street and a black cat darts across the street. Not a huge fan of that. Don't love continuing to drive. I'd like to turn around if I can, but
I just wave at Kitty and keep on going.
Keep on going, yeah. So next Friday against Brooklyn will be that added game, and maybe this time Grizzlies can pick up
3 games against Brooklyn this year. That'd be a tough one to take. Usually only play them twice, but to lose to them 3 times.
Yeah, no, that would not be good. But it's at home, so that you feel really good about. But yeah, you got the added game, and I think very winnable. I think your next three of your next 4 very winnable. Sacramento.
I'm looking forward to going tomorrow night.
Yeah, that'll be fun. With the Sacramento roster, very good, and I think they're going to figure it out. I think they're going to turn it around. But right now, kind of a slow start to the year.
We have had Tommy West and David Cohn with us today. We'll have Kevin Sweeney at the top of the final hour, 5 o'clock. Kevin Sweeney will join us. All our guests join us on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line, and all our listeners can join us at the Sissy's Log Cabin guest and talk line at 901-360-8255. And Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays from everyone at Sissy's Log Cabin. That location at 4542 Poplar, it is bustling. The Mid-South's largest selection of one-of-a-kind jewelry, engagement rings, wedding bands, necklaces, earrings. Bill Jones and his great team here to stay since 1970 with all the locations across the Mid-South. 9,000 square foot in Laurelwood with expanded lines for Rolex, Cartier, diamonds, and more. Sissy's offers a selection of diamonds and estate jewelry and fine gifts. The official jeweler for the Memphis Grizzlies and FedEx Forum. With the floor seat lounge going to Tiger game tonight. You can go back there and see that tomorrow night at the Grizzlies game as well, and all the display cases there at Grizzlies games. Unsurpassed value, exceptional service, expansive selection, and an extraordinary shopping experience because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
Well, let's get to another break, and when we come back, it'll be time for Big Number of the Day.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Ventwinger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Ventwinger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood across from the
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery instead of dependable service and no long-term contracts. An easy choice. Call Jeff Matus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Admit it. When you start thinking about tastes of Memphis, you think treats, sweets. You think Dinstall's. For 122 years now. What is that, 5 generations? When people wanted something to bring to a party that will just make everybody happy, they bring out Dinstall's. 122 years of cashew crunch, of heavenly hash, of turtlettes, of their award-winning fudge. That's worldwide. It's known that well. Then there's the milk chocolate. It all starts there. There's the double-dip peanuts. And then every fall, those famous chocolate-covered strawberries with that fondant. And they won't tell you what's in the fondant, but it makes it oh so special. And easy to get to. 5 locations. There's where they make the candies in Pleasant View. There's Germantown. There's Collierville. There's even one downtown and in my neck of the woods in Laurelwood. You know what? 122 years made in Memphis and enjoyed by the whole world. Dinstall's.
I'm with John Burgess from the world-famous Rendezvous in the alley since 1948. Brett, we have catered parties all over this country and all over the world, from Singapore, Australia, to Central Park in New York. Many people don't realize how much we do locally. For holiday events, office parties, tailgating, birthday parties, you can't do better than the Rendezvous. For example, you can get a cheese and sausage tray for 15 to 300 people for $3.75 per person. You can even build your own nacho bar for $10.50 per person. All you need is a minimum of 15 people. In many cases, we can arrange delivery and full-service catering. We've even made it easy to get to-go items. You can just park at our front door in the alley, put on your flashes, and we'll get you going ASAP. For all your catering items and prices, go to hogsfly.com, click on menu, and drop down to catering.
Thank you, John. The Rendezvous, Mr. Charlie Burgess' Rendezvous in the alley since 1948, celebrating 75th year.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand. It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
Well, my big number today is the number 5. Last night, Clemson basketball beat AP Top 5 Kentucky, who's ranked number 4 in the AP poll. It was actually the only win the ACC got last night in the SEC-ACC challenge on the hardwood. But Clemson basketball has been really good lately versus AP Top 5 teams. This is what they've done the last 4 games for Clemson versus AP Top 5 teams. Unranked Clemson defeats number 3 Duke. Unranked Clemson defeats number 5 Louisville. Unranked Clemson defeats number 3 North Carolina. And unranked Clemson defeats number 4 Kentucky. Since the poll expanded to 25 teams in the 1989-90 season, nobody else has won 4 straight versus AP Top 5 foes while undefeated.
Whoa.
It's a good number there. And Clemson team.
And it also highlights that while it was a great night, banner night, flag planting night for the SEC against the ACC, as go the flag bearer the standard bearer for the SEC goes is the perception of the league, and Kentucky loses.
Kentucky lost, yeah, and, I was not super surprised that the SEC was so dominant last night. I mean, you look at a lot of those matchups, and, a lot of
How do you
better
think
SEC
tonight will
teams.
play out?
Well, tonight's interesting. I think, tonight you've got some better, maybe evenly matched games tonight.
North Carolina at home.
North Carolina at home against Alabama. Auburn on the road against Duke, playing at Cameron Indoor. So, maybe we get some fun
Payback.
results tonight. Maybe some payback tonight. There's also some other really good games tonight as well.
And North Carolina and Duke's the top of the heap in the ACC.
Those are the flag bearers of the ACC in basketball. So, yes, if they lose tonight, then, it will be a big perception of what the ACC is right now in basketball.
Speaking of the ACC, I had SMU's game notes popped up. When they play Clemson Saturday, it'll be the first time they've ever played.
Is that right?
What a year for SMU to come into the ACC.
It's incredible.
Talking about shooting your shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, name your shot, call your shot, and shoot
they did it.
And they have nailed it so far.
My big number is 12. Coach Tommy West talked about Kirby Smart in these SEC championship games, but 12 is the number of SEC championship games for Georgia. They're 4-7 in the previous 11. In those games, all wins, in the 4 wins, they had the MVP, David Green at quarterback in 2002, DJ Shockley in 2005 at quarterback, Roquan Smith in 2017 at linebacker, and Stetson Bennett in 2022 at quarterback. We know who the MVP's got to be Saturday for Georgia. It's got to be Carson Beck.
It's got to be Carson Beck. Starts with him. They go.
This is his Stetson Bennett moment.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Did we think we'd ever say that at one time about Stetson Bennett?
No, we did not.
But he was that good.
He was that good. But, he's going to, Carson Beck will be compared to Stetson Bennett for a long time. And a lot
he's
can
a better
happen
quarterback.
based on tonight. Yeah, but will he go down certainly won't go down as the legend of Stetson Bennett. But,
no.
Could get close if he gets hot soon.
But get hot and win it all, he could approach the legendary
he
status.
Could get close. Never topping Stetson Bennett. I don't know if any quarterback ever tops Stetson Bennett.
Maybe a next week question. May ask it again next week. But right now, of all these potential brackets, other than Ohio State, who is it most on? You got to cash it in and win it this year. This is your time. No more playing around.
Well, would it have to be Oregon?
I think so.
Number one all
Back to
year.
my Phil Knight spending.
Exactly. You've got all that money.
You're not
Phil
buying
Knight
green
has
bananas.
said, name the price, and I'll cut a check for it. Feels like this is the time.
And he's done it in every sport, but for sure in football and basketball.
Yeah, football it feels like football's his baby, and
track was at one time.
It was, and that has paid
still
off. And Oregon has a terrific track and field team, but and a beautiful complex up there too. But with football, the way they've been going this year, and they've been the top of the leaderboard all year long, and if they go out there and can't cash in, I think it will feel like a missed opportunity.
And Ole Miss would have been the very same way. But for teams like SMU, they're just glad to be in that first bracket. That's very historic. The first 12 teams.
Yeah, I remember going back to before the season started, and I think it was David Cobb joined us, and I think his dark horse pick for one of his stories at CBS Sports was SMU to win the conference. I remember Jake Crane joining John and saying, "Hey, do not overlook this SMU team. They could make a push for the conference championship game." And when that was being said, it was no way. I know that they have the money, they've done well in the transfer portal, but there's no way that SMU gets to the conference championship game. If we were saying that about them back then, there was no thought or any chance they would be in the playoff talk. And now they've gone out there, they've done it, and they're certainly in that conversation now. So it's been huge.
They had to have that comeback and win week 0, last game, Hawaii may have been the last game against Delaware State.
Yeah,
Delaware State, thank you. They had to come back and beat Nevada, and remember how cold it was and how windy it was. It showed people bundled up at Nevada, which that's in Reno.
Yes.
They looked like they were at Lambeau.
No, it looked cold, and I want to say that either some snow had come through or was gonna come through or something like that. I vaguely remember snow talk.
Take that, global warming, August snow.
Man, yeah, that was a wild game because you're right. SMU goes
and we were
down
watching because we were just dying for football to start. And SMU didn't do anything for me that night.
No.
I never dreamed they'd be in this position.
No, and then they make the quarterback change, and they've been really, really good ever since.
I think I even said they're going nowhere with Preston Stone.
Yeah, which was another thing that was crazy at the time.
They recognized that.
They recognized it. It took them some time to recognize. I was about to say they recognized it very quickly. It took them some time to recognize that. But, after last year, what Preston Stone did, we were saying, Preston Stone, he's going to have a big year. He's a really good player. And then against Nevada, he didn't really look good. Jennings comes in. He plays well. They kind of do. They tried the 2-quarterback system for a couple games. I believe that game against BYU, they played both those quarterbacks and then ultimately made the decision just to go with Jennings, and he's been really good this year.
And the coaching tree from where Rhett Lashley comes.
Not off the top of my head, I do not.
Gus, he was he played quarterback for him in high school.
Really? The Gus bus. He's part of the Gus bus.
I think it's Shallow Christian.
Wow.
Before Springdale.
I did not know that. But
after Hughes.
What a job he's done. I mean, as SMU's coach, he's been really, really good. And, I think
he does it again next year. The offers will come rolling in.
Look out.
And, I think he played he was a little while at Alabama, but I think he considers Arkansas his school.
Yeah, I would probably say so. But no, they, all eyes on SMU now and what they do in this conference championship game and what that means for them in terms of the college football playoffs. And we'll get that officially laid out on Sunday. But let's go ahead and wrap up our second hour and get to another break. When we come back, we're switching gears. A really, really good night of college basketball last night. Maybe even better night tonight. No, not even maybe. An even better night with all of the ranked matchups, SEC, ACC challenge. You've got Big East and what's their challenge? Big East and Big 12, I think, or Big 10? Or is it Big 10? I think so. Landon's shaking his head at me. No, Big 10 starts conference play tonight. So a little bit of everything. We got to talk about it with Kevin Sweeney from Sports Illustrated. He joins us next.
With 60 wing flavors and 7 heat indexes, do you have what it takes to turn the heat on your wings up to insanity? East Coast Wings and Grill is family friendly with a large variety menu to satisfy the whole bunch. Sign up today for their loyalty program and taste the rewards. For every dollar you spend, you collect a point. Earn 100 points and receive a $5 reward. Next to Lowe's on Highway 64 in Marlin, come try America's best wings at East Coast Wings and Grill.
Make this a magical Christmas with help from Genesis Diamonds. Step into a world of luxury and at Genesis, we have what women love, from simple diamond stud earrings to amazing one-of-a-kind designer bracelets. And you can't miss our best ever selection of luxury premium awards watches. For the entire month of December, Genesis is making everything affordable with 5 years, 0-interest financing. Diamond increased by 60. Get your baby or showcases with exclusive diamond rings. This gives you exquisite craftsmanship and lasting value. All our exclusive designers are showcasing their latest creations, and our penetration experts will help you pick out your gift that surely cares to her eyes on Christmas morning. So come see us at Genesis for the most romantic and memorable gift of the season. Get holiday store hours, directions, and finance details at GenesisDiamonds.com. Genesis Diamonds, luxury premium Alexis. Popular Perkins Extended. See store for details.
It's a walk-through entertainment extravaganza with hundreds of giant 3D Christmas-like displays, photos with Santa, food and drinks, and special events including fireworks on New Year's Eve. New this year is a winter-inspired 18-hole miniature golf course. Bring the family out nightly through January 1st. Go to lightcard.online
Good afternoon. Still trying to clean up this wreck over here on 40 eastbound. It's going to be just past Sam Cooper before you get to Sycamore View Road. Talk about wrong place, wrong time. There's so much volume over here now, and it's slowing down to Rubberneck. I actually think this is two separate accidents here on 40 eastbound. Again, just past Sam Cooper. It's got traffic slow. It's busy now on 240 east from Mill Branch all the way over to 385. Getting on to Bill Morris Parkway going outbound towards Collierville has increased quite a bit. Shop now and save during this holiday season at Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
This is Original Sports Station. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Once again, Brett Northworthy and Brian Davis.
Say you stand by your man. Tell me something.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you as we start our third and final hour. And joining us now, talk some college hoops, Kevin Sweeney from Sports Illustrated. Go give him a follow on Twitter at CBB_Central. Kevin, thanks so much for joining us. A lot to get into, but I want to start with the Memphis Tigers. Last week when you joined us, we were talking to you while that game against Auburn was going on. Ultimately, Auburn closed that one out. They win Maui. Memphis Tigers finish as the runner-ups. Now they return tonight to FedEx Forum against Louisiana Tech, a team that was preseason picked to win the Conference USA, coming off a loss against Southern. Do you think there will be any Maui hangover tonight for the Tigers, and what do you think about tonight's matchup against Louisiana Tech?
Yeah, if you were going to script a Maui hangover, it'd look like this: against a good team, but against a mid-major team, a team that Memphis could easily overlook, a team that will come in hungry off of its first loss of the year. And we've seen some Maui hangovers already. I know Dayton yesterday struggled with Western Michigan. We're trailing, I believe, by 10 in the second half before rallying by them in the end. So I would definitely be on alert. Louisiana Tech's really good. They've high major talent. Daniel Bacho is a starter at Texas Tech at one point in his career. Amari Abram has a pretty good pedigree as well. Has had a great start to the year. Caden Cooper was a top 50-ish recruit. So they're a dangerous team that Memphis don't want to look past tonight.
Kevin, locally, we're just all unanimous in this team. This team is ahead of last year's. It's almost the same form last year took, although it got blasted a little bigger by Villanova in the finals than even by Auburn. Do you think this team is ahead of last year's?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's more cohesion. I think the role allocation is better. I think guys understand what they're supposed to do on this team. I'd also say, obviously, Auburn handled them, but to score over 1.1 points per possession against Auburn, it's really hard to do. That's one of the best defenses in the country. This wasn't a complete rollover for Memphis in that game. So, yeah, I think there's reasons for optimism. Obviously, I think people will be on high alert for good reason after what happened a year ago. And, if you lay an egg against Louisiana Tech or Arkansas State, then all of a sudden, maybe there's reason for concern. But, I think overall hard to quibble with what they've done so far. Some legit wins on the resume. Certainly no bad losses through November, and that's all you could ask for 1 month.
The shorter rotation seems to be working. Brian and I both talked about we love how they're playing defense without fouling, and in Maui, 33 turnovers total, 11 per game, easy to figure. That's the prescription for winning basketball.
Yeah, look, when everybody you have out there is healthy, then that's a pretty good recipe, right? They have guys that fit into roles. Haggerty and Hunter are going to be used on pretty much every possession. The guys around them, how do they fit into that, right? So if it's Danger, it's post scoring. If it's Coley Rogers, it's spacing the floor. If it's Kisei or Jourdain, it's defense, right? I think guys understand what they are in this system because there aren't a ton of other options and a ton of guys who think they're the best player. And again, when you're this thin, you do run the risk, all right, an injury or two, a sprained ankle, and all of a sudden things can get hairy. But right now, they have everything they need, and I thought managed it pretty well, even in that 3 day setting in Maui.
Who are some other teams out there having early success that's as thin, that's playing with a limited rotation like the Tigers are trying to do?
Yeah, Oklahoma won Battle for Atlantis, and they're relatively thin as well. Really rely on three guards. Kobe Elvis, Jeremiah Fears, a freshman, and Duke Miles, and then kind of cycle through a stable of front court guys, four guys for two spots, and found a way to grind out victories in Atlantis. So it is working elsewhere. I think, again, the bigger question with those type of teams is what happens once you mess up the perfect balance that you found early on. But it can settle in and work. I mean, Louisville would be the downside example, right, where they've now had two season-ending injuries. They were already redshirting two guys, and now they have four guys on the sideline who make up something like $1.5 million in NIL money this year, and then you get tight. You get 7-8 bodies for a game. That's never fun. But
and it showed last night with Louisville.
It did. They got blasted.
Whacked.
But no question. Like it's a delicate balance, but if you can pull it off, it can be really, really successful in this day and age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mentioning these SEC and ACC teams that played last night, the SEC-ACC challenge was very one-sided last night, 9-1 in favor of the SEC. Clemson, the only ACC team to get a win over Kentucky. What does this tell you about these two conferences? It feels like right now the SEC, best conference in the country. It feels like the ACC very top heavy with some of those teams we'll see tonight with Duke and North Carolina, Pittsburgh, and Clemson.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I think this has been trending this way for a few years now. The ACC's been down, the SEC's been rising. And last night was sort of the culmination of that. Just a utter domination. It wasn't just bad matchups. I mean, I think the SEC teams were 7-3 against the spread in those games too. So it wasn't just uneven games. I mean, it was they won bigger than you would have expected. The gap in talent is huge. The coaching gap is big. I think a lot of that's money, certainly in staff salaries and whatnot, but also NIL. The SEC is ahead of the game there, and I think that's a big reason that the league is really experiencing this incredible basketball renaissance. But I mean, the ACC desperately needs a good night tonight. Obviously, Duke and Carolina with big games, but Pitt goes to Mississippi State. That's a really big game for a Pitt team that the ACC is really riding on if they hope to have the type of year that this league hopes to have.
Yeah, it has a little feel like a desperate Sunday at the Ryder Cup for the ACC tonight. They really need to post some early W's. Who has the most expensive roster in the SEC? Who's paying out the most?
In the SEC, I think Kentucky probably wound up number one just because they literally had to fill every spot in the spring, and that's when players are most expensive. So my guess would be them. Missouri is up there. They spend a ton. Alabama spent a good amount there by the end. Tennessee is doing quite well for themselves. But I would guess if I had to give round numbers, it's Kentucky.
You mentioned the two big games tonight in the SEC-ACC Challenge. What do you expect to see in both those with Auburn traveling to Duke and Alabama traveling to North Carolina?
I mean, Duke's got to find a way to win one of these big games, right? I guess you give them the Arizona win last 2 weeks ago, but Arizona's really struggled. And in these two close games down the stretch against Kentucky and Kansas, they haven't been able to finish. And at home at Cameron, this is the opportunity against, again, another team that might be having a bit of a Maui hangover. It's all there for them, but Auburn's really tough. I said last week they're the best team in the country. The physicality, the defense, the athleticism, the front court play. It will be a great test for this Duke team. And then Carolina, Alabama, two teams that can't get a stop. I mean, Alabama's defense has been better than a year ago, but that's not saying a whole lot. And Carolina's defense looks really bad. I mean, their front court is just not good enough right now. And so that game might be first to 90, first to 95. Should be a lot of fun. But a game that I think both teams do kind of need. Carolina coming off a bad week in Maui, and Alabama with two early losses. Not quite the start they'd hoped for. Obviously, some good wins. Beat Illinois, beat Houston, beat Rutgers. But if you're a team that expected to be number one in the country and you have two losses here on December 4th, you're probably not feeling great about yourself.
Kevin, I want to get a little bit later in the non-conference, maybe to the conclusion of the non-conference portion for the Memphis Tigers, before I want to move any goalpost on preseason goals that I set for Coach Penny Hardaway. I'm still sticking by on this date, on December 4th, 3 weeks before Christmas. I'm still staying on the goal for the year is just to get to the NCAA tournament. When do you start moving a little bit of maybe, all right, you got to get to the tournament and win a game? You need to see mock brackets. I know Net's out this week. Are you staying kind of with preseason, or are you already moving a little bit?
Look, I think when you have the momentum of what they accomplished in Maui, you start to think bigger, right? I think it's certainly not unreasonable to do that, especially when you look at the AAC and you feel like there's wins to be had. Not that you didn't before the season, but you especially do now. With the way that the league has started, there's just no one really in Memphis' weight class. And so I think the goal should be, if nothing else, post a number in that league standing, whether it's 15-3, 16-2, something like that. And that sets you up for the good seed that sets you up to make the run, right? I mean, I don't think today it's, the season's a failure. You don't win your first round NCAA tournament game. But I think Memphis should be in position to win a first round tournament game based on what they've accomplished early on and what the schedule is ahead of them.
I mentioned Net. When do you start going to it every day, obsessing on it, really thinking it really matters?
I'm not obsessing yet. I do check it every morning, just to part of my kind of daily routine, just to see who moved, who didn't. But it's very noisy right now. Syracuse, for instance, I mentioned it to somebody earlier today. Syracuse lost by 26 to Tennessee last night and somehow went up 18 spots because they were already so low from the start of the season that 26 was apparently a good result for them. So it's early yet. The moves are very drastic this time of year. So
Ole Miss,
I would keep
54 to 27.
Yeah, I mean, can't beat it, right? And double your spot in a day. So,
over winning against the injury-riddled Louisville.
Yeah, it will quiet down data-wise and be a little bit more stable once you get to January. So I would say until then, just you can check it, but I wouldn't obsess over it.
Yeah. Talking to Kevin Sweeney, joins us every week to talk college basketball from Sports Illustrated. And Big Ten play started last night, had some good games, but Michigan, big winners on the road against Wisconsin. They're now 7-1 to start the season with Dusty May in his first year at Michigan. What have you seen from them so far this year?
Yeah, look, I think the thing that's really positive with them is that they've gotten better from week 1 to week 5 or wherever we are, right? Like, Week 1, they played Wake Forest. They looked a little disorganized. Their roles just didn't seem locked in yet. Danny Wolf, who was their biggest portal addition from Yale, he was really bad in that game, had 6 turnovers, only scored 4 points. Last night they were humming. I mean, Wolf had 20 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 blocks, one of the most unique stat lines of the season. He's such an interesting player. At 7 foot tall, kind of has guard skills. People compare him to Nikola Jokic. If they can get him going like they did last night, they're a dangerous team in this Big Ten race. And I think really encouraging to see them take strides. Now, really back-to-back games. Blew out Xavier last week. That was impressive. And now to win on the road at Wisconsin, those conference road wins are always quite the catch, and they got one last night.
The slower pace of this week's schedule compared to last week, although the games at night and the challenges, they've been great and will be great the rest of the week. The start of Big Ten play started last night and really go into the weekend. At what point for you, though, last week, did you hit peak basketball and just the competition was at its best for you?
I mean, that Wednesday before Thanksgiving with the Maui title game, you had day 2 of the Players Era tournament in Vegas that I was at. You had day 1 of Battle for Atlantis. I mean, I had my computer up streaming a game. I'm watching a game in front of me. I've got my phone checking scores. I got people next to me saying, "Do you see this?" I mean, it is overwhelming, and it's 12-hour day, which is what's fun and unique. Obviously tonight, I mean, it's all kind of crammed into a couple hours.
And I bet you were there. We've talked about it. Brian and I've talked about it. There was a game, I'm pretty sure it was Wednesday night, that Central Time, because of delays, didn't start till about 11:40.
Yes. It was Notre Dame versus Houston, the last game of the day in Vegas. Yeah, I saw the start. It went the way I expected it to go, where Houston took a lead, and I said, you know what, I got a 7 a.m. flight back home to Chicago, and I better get ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. You mentioned
Never apologize for sleep, Kevin. Never.
No, you need it. You mentioned Rutgers. We talked about them last week. Kind of looking at this makeup of their team, they've got 2 electric freshmen in Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey. Both those guys are just so much fun to watch. But when you look at the rest of this conference, what kind of range do you expect Rutgers to kind of be playing in, kind of finish in among this conference?
I mean, Heritage king, I think, across college basketball, but especially king in this league right now. I mean, there is not a ton separating any of these teams. I say Rutgers could finish, think still finish in the middle of the pack, but middle of the pack might be, 2 games between 4th and 14th.
Yeah,
so,
wow.
We'll see what happens. Look, Dylan Harper has been better than anyone could have hoped for, and the expectations are so high. Ace Bailey's been about as good as you could have asked for. And again, the expectations may be even higher with him. So they got stuff to figure out for the other 3 guys on the floor at any given time. But I think overall you feel pretty good about where they are. The way they played against Alabama last week was very encouraging. I mean, the way that they battled them for 40 minutes, a team that has so much more talent, 3 through 11 in the rotation, that was a really positive step for this Rutgers group.
And Kevin, your answer to this could very well be Penny Hardaway and the Memphis Tigers. But if it's not that, who's the team in this first month or so having a great time, having fun basketball? It's not a grind. It's off to a really fun start. Who would you describe that as?
Man, that's a great question. I would say Marquette just feels really connected. And obviously that's a big part of what Shaka Smart does. But, I went up there when they played Purdue, and their team just vibe and chemistry just feels perfect. I think they have guys that understand what it's about. They have guys that have been in the system for multiple years, right? This is one of 2 teams that didn't take a transfer in the spring. They know each other. They've been around each other. They like each other. And they're winning it. It's hard to beat that right now. Obviously, a big-time test tonight against Iowa State. We'll see how they handle that. But, so far, I have to love their vibe and their makeup.
West Virginia could be in that league.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that was a monster week for them. 3 overtime games, the bonding you get from that. And 2 big wins.
Last year it wasn't fun.
Oh, yeah. And it's a fresh start. It's a new coach, and you come out and you're first big game, you get blown out by Pitt in a rivalry game, and you're like, all right, here we go again. But for them to go to Atlantis, play the way they did, I mean, those are season-changing weeks, and that was a big step for them.
Well, I'll tell you who's definitely not having fun out there right now. It's Miami. I mean, they are not fun to watch. They have not been winning games. Last year, the way they ended the season, one of their, last 12 games they won, and now they've lost 5 straight games, and it started last week in their tournament they were playing in, lost all 3 of those games, and now have lost their last 2 games since that. What are you seeing right now with this Miami team?
Yeah, they're in rough shape. I mean, yesterday was their best performance, I thought, by far, of this losing streak. Really had Arkansas beat, just couldn't get enough stops down the stretch. Look, I think we're nearing the end for Jim Larinaga. Yeah. Obviously, he has the cachet that you would hope he can go out on his own terms, but I'm just not sure he's going to want to start a rebuild again. And it's never good when you're old and bad, and that's really what this team is. They landed the 5-star freshman Jaleel Bethea in the spring. He's a big time recruit coming in. He's kind of out of the rotation. Only played 8 minutes against Arkansas. The old guys that are playing have not been very good. Their defense is brutally bad right now. So look, the upside is the ACC. There's wins out there. If you can turn it around a little bit, and all of a sudden you look up, you're in top third of the league and you're playing for a spot in March. But right now things look pretty dire.
I'm with you on Larinaga. Even last night, you could tell the pitch and the cadence of his glorious whistling was even a little muted, because he's one of the great whistlers of all. We need to have Larinaga versus the Vanderbilt baseball whistler in a contest.
He's one of the best, and again, he should coach for however long he would like to. But you start to wonder at 76.
Yeah.
staring down this rebuild, staring down, potentially second straight under 500 season. You'll ride it out on a high and help
and
your
survive the
AD
FBI scandal.
I mean, that was what was so rewarding about that run in 2023, and even the year before when they went to the Elite Eight, was the FBI scandal really knocked them on their back. They go 3 straight years under 500 after that. Everybody thinks it's over, and he turns around and goes Elite Eight, Final Four, back-to-back years. I mean, what an incredible cap to his career, but it doesn't seem like it's ending well this year.
No. Last thing for you, Kevin. A story we haven't really talked about with you, but I think one of the really good stories in basketball right now, Drake and what they're doing. Undefeated, and their head coach, Ben McCollum, coming from the D2 ranks, and he brought a lot of his guys from his team last year from the D2 ranks, and now a really hot start for Drake. They won the tournament they played in last week, getting some big wins. They beat Miami. They beat Vanderbilt. What a really good story for college basketball right now.
Yeah, Ben McCollum's a really good coach, as it has been for a long time. He had been very selective about what D1 job he wanted to take. Drake is an Iowa native, made a lot of sense for him when Darren DeVries left, and he's got him rolling. He's a great coach, really, really sharp offensively and defensively. To give you an idea, his practices in Northwest Missouri State often had, high level Division I coaches coming by in the summer to study his offense. People have wanted to steal from him, take different things for a long time. So he's respected in the industry, and not a huge surprise they've been as good as they've been. But cool for these guys, right? I mean, guys who are recruited at the D2 level, overlooked, go out and be beating the Miamis, the Vanderbilts, the FAUs of the world. But that's a cool thing, and they'll be a factor all the way through in the Missouri Valley.
Yeah, they've been fun to watch. Games this week, what do you got coming up?
Northwestern Illinois on Friday is a big one for me this week, but posted up on the couch here for a heck of another game.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in that one. That will be fun as Big Ten play starting. But Kevin, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll do it again next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin, and be safe. Kevin Sweeney with us from Sports Illustrated and College Basketball Central. Kind of a sedate week for him, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I mean, after everything he was doing last week, I don't blame him, right? Like, you need some time off after that.
The fun question.
Or something.
Tiger basketball to this point has been fun. Hey?
Yeah. I mean, they're looking like they're having a lot of fun out there. It's been fun to watch, and it looks like those guys are very well connected, and it looks like they enjoy playing with each other out there.
And Brian, I do not want to pile on last year, but even in the good times, and I was skeptical of the good times because JQ Javon Quinn, I just didn't think it was fun with him.
Yeah, no, I mean, that team last year...
When he was hitting shots, okay.
Sure. I mean, that team didn't like each other last year. I mean, we'll call it what it is. They did not enjoy being on the same team with each other. I think Darren and I were talking about it because, you hear, well, they liked each other fine. I always compare it, and, I'll have buddies that they have friends at work that it's when they're out of the office, they're great. They're fine. They're fun to be around. But when they're in the office and actual work's being done, they don't like how they act at work. And so, them at work is completely different. Maybe that's what it was last year. But on the court, those guys did not like each other. They did not play well off of each other. And this year looks different. I think the biggest thing to point to is those two guards that you have out there right now. PJ Haggerty, Tyrese Hunter, how they play off of each other and how they work off of each other. It's hard to do for two guards who, want to get up shots, want to be that go-to guy. For them to play so well off each other early this season has been a lot of fun.
Later this month, we need to package it as this the fun tournament. Memphis Tigers, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State. Jans and Beard are having fun.
They're having fun, and certainly it was a lot of fun last night for Ole Miss and their win over Louisville, and entered that game as an underdog, but it rolled them, especially that second half.
I didn't bet a cent, but I looked at that and I thought, does Vegas know about the Louisville injuries?
I bet big on it, Brett. It was my favorite bet of the day.
Oh, you jumped on it.
Oh, absolutely.
Way to go, Brian.
It was a ridiculous line. I mean, there was no doubt in my mind Ole Miss was going to lose that game.
And there's not many times that you can catch Vegas kind of thinking,
that was one of them.
Are you aware of everything?
I was texting all my buddies, hey, no, you need to hop on Ole Miss.
You brought in buds on it, too. Good. Got to the man.
I told Connor, I was like, Connor, you got to bet on this tonight. It's a winner. And then I got a little nervous as we got closer to game time. But no, it was a good win for Ole Miss.
But once the game started, it was never
fine.
in doubt.
I mean, at halftime, I shut that game off and went to a different game.
Did you see the Yum Center when the buzzer sounded at the end?
Brett, I turned it off. I mean, I was done with the game. I went and watched something that was a little closer.
And I was listening to David. He said it was really quiet in there and empty.
Yeah, the last couple of years, the Yum Center has not been jumping, but obviously a lot different. I think Pat Kelsey's going to get it right, but with these injuries, I mean, the last 2 or 3 days, you got 2 guys that are now going to be out for the entire season.
And Kevin said $1.6 million.
I mean, they knew after what happened the last 2 seasons, they knew they had to change something and do something different. And it started with a coach and it started with a different roster. So they went out and I think got really good players. Nothing you can do about injuries, though. They just unfortunately happen. Well, before we get to a break, let me remind you our great 5 o'clock sponsor. It's Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Jaguar Bluff City have been the premier Jaguar dealership for the greater Memphis area since 1984. Their talented team, they're ready to help you find your next perfect vehicle at unbeatable rates. Swing by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City today and check out the new 2025 models like the 2025 Range Rover Sport, the 2025 Range Rover Velar, and the 2025 Defender. Test drive the Range Rover Sport where luxury meets performance. It's a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility with options ranging from 360 horsepower up to 635. It's also available as a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle with $7,500 federal tax credit when leased with approved credit. Take a look at the Range Rover Velar, powered by mild hybrid technology and enhanced with the latest well-being features and fully connected entertainment system. The 2025 Range Rover Velar is the ultimate luxury compact crossover. Purchase yours today and get special 4.4% for 72 months financing available with approved credit. Don't forget about the Defender. Available in multiple models to fit your needs, the Defender is built for the modern explorer, and Jaguar Bluff City is offering special interest rates for 60 and 72 months on various models. Give them a call, 877-259-6169. Visit them online, jaguarbluffcity.com, but make sure you go out there and test drive these vehicles. 6335 Wheel Cove, right there just off of Quince for Jaguar Land Rover at Bluff City. Well, let's get to another break, and when we come back, we'll talk about what's trending.
You're going to recommend that everyone get their holiday meal from Central Barbecue.
No, although it's a great idea, get everybody some fantastic Central Barbecue and not have to do any of the work, but that is not what this spot is about.
It's not?
No, this is about another way Central Barbecue can save you time and trouble.
Ah, Central Barbecue gift cards.
That's right. You don't have to fight the holiday gift shoppers when you can just go online and order up a handful of Central Barbecue gift cards.
No one has ever turned up their nose at getting the best barbecue in Memphis.
In the world.
In the world for free.
If wedding bells are in your future, you need an unforgettable engagement ring from a jeweler you can trust. And that's been James Gaddis Jewelers for over 60 years. With a huge selection and the best prices, James Gaddis is a master jeweler and diamondologist. Beautiful jewelry from James Gaddis is always the right choice. Choose from rings to earrings, necklaces to bracelets, and gemstones to watches. Layaway and financing available. James Gaddis Jewelers, 4900 Poplar, online at GaddisJewelers.com and Instagram at Gaddis Jewelers. Say I do at James Gaddis Jewelers.
Sports 56 traffic.
Still trying to clean up this wreck from earlier on 40 eastbound, just past Sam Cooper before Sycamore View Road, and it is already very heavy over here this time of the afternoon. So we got some rubber decking delays up through here on 40 eastbound, just before you get to Sycamore View Road, and then it gets heavy again as you continue on 40 east out into Fayette County. It's still running a little bit slow over here, also on 240 east passing Walnut Grove because of that accident over there just past Sam Cooper on 40 again going eastbound. It's bogged down pretty good over here on this side of town. Shop now and save during the holiday season at Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you as we got about 30 minutes left in today's show, and that means we got to talk about what's trending. Couple things trending today, but I know we talked about it a little bit earlier today, the start of the signing period, and a good day so far for the Tigers. I think they're done with everything for today, but some of the highlights for the Tigers, they did, in fact, sign four-star quarterback Antoine Hill Jr. Antoine Hill committed to Memphis. It was between Memphis and Florida back in the summer. He announced his commitment and has remained committed and signed to the University of Memphis. And they flipped a couple of players from SEC schools. Three-star JUCO cornerback Shannon Blair flipped earlier today from Arkansas to Memphis. Three-star offensive tackle Josiah Clemens flipped earlier this afternoon from Mississippi State to Memphis. And then I believe yesterday, or maybe the day before, three-star defensive tackle JaQuinton Madison flipped from Arkansas to Memphis. According to Rivals, this was earlier before the show started, 22 of the 23 committed players had signed for the Tigers, and that moved them up to number 53 in the country, number 1 in the AAC. And we mentioned it earlier. I saw the tweet from Brian Moss that said, if this holds, that it would be the third highest recruiting class in Tiger football history, all three of those coming in the Ryan Silverfield era.
And really good news. Before, or late into the day, Arkansas had a horrific day of players flipping and backing out, including an offensive lineman to Ole Miss. But late in the day, they get a flip and get Nico's little brother,
How about
Nico
that?
Malieva.
Yeah, so the brothers now both in the SEC, one at Tennessee, one at Arkansas, so that will be a lot of fun. Obviously, we saw Nico all year this year with what he did at Tennessee, and be curious what his brother does. His brother originally committed to UCLA, but then flipped to Arkansas, so definitely a big get. 4-star quarterback, I believe.
And for Ole Miss finish, or right now they land at the 14th spot, but as we talked about the other day, that's 9th in the SEC. It sounds good. Hey, we're 14 in the country. But, I mean, just in the peer group, one in front of them, Miami, one behind them, USC. You don't play either one of them.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about the SEC is you're right. I mean, anytime.
Here's who you play. You play Georgia, Texas, Alabama, LSU.
Yep. I mean, and that's the thing is, anytime you hear, top 15 recruiting class, you go, that's fantastic. That's great. But then you break it down even more and, it's not even, in the top half of your conference.
Jackson Arnold at Oklahoma, so ballyhooed coming off the bowl performance down in the Alamo Bowl, similarly to Nico's bowl performance, and Miller Moss at USC, their bowl performance. Of the three, we know which one really translated into 2024 football. It was not OU or USC.
No, and both those guys, I think, after their performances in the bowl game, certainly Miller Moss, I mean, the performance he had in that bowl game, everyone's going, okay, well, USC has their next quarterback, and he's a stud. I think for OU, Jackson Arnold, it was their flashes. There's definitely something there, but he also had a couple interceptions in that game. I think a fumble or two in that bowl game. It wasn't the cleanest game, but you saw a lot there. It was a lot of excitement
and especially
around
if you wanted to see
it. That's the thing. And so, if you put on those glasses, you came away very excited about
Brian,
what could be.
Now coming up in these bowls, and I'm sorry for all the bowls out there. If you're not a playoff game, all these are. I heard so many people forever want to say, they're just exhibition games. Nobody cares. Well, if those people thought that was the case 15 and 20 years ago, and I heard that garbage back then, what are they saying now about them?
Yeah.
If you thought they didn't matter and they were just exhibition games 15, 20, 25 years ago. It's as meaningless as a lot of spring games now.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to see different combos out there with opt-outs and just various reasons and leaving to go somewhere else. And out of that, people are going to see performances what they want to see. For instance, if Austin Simmons goes out and goes for 350 in the bowl game, slow down a little bit. Slow down a little bit until next year. Now, I think that's probably better than going out and being 10 of 24 for
You'll
3
take
picks.
that any day over a bad performance. But yes, a lot changes between that and then when you're the actual starting quarterback.
And speaking of USC, Brian, you remember several weeks ago, I'm talking maybe 8 or 9 weeks ago, old Brett said that he was understood that I had heard that Lincoln Riley had made his name available out there to the right potential place, that he wanted to get back to this part of the world ideally. Now Central Florida thinking they got a chance to get him. He wants out, they want out with him.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like one of those kind of end of a time, hey, we tried it. But
nobody in the neighborhood wanted him.
No. And so I was a little surprised when I saw the
summertime plan was Arkansas with a big offer for him.
Yeah, I did not think it would be UCF. Now, nothing. It's just the tweet. UCF has made inquiries about Lincoln Riley for the head coach opening. So it's just very early. Whatever it might be.
He's fishing.
That's definitely, hey, float that out there, let people know that their team's interested in Lincoln Riley.
That would be just huge step down, wouldn't it?
Yes.
That's trying to reset the clock.
Easily a step down. But
that's Stan Heath going to Tulsa.
Again, yes.
Or not Stan Heath, who's the Tiger assistant coach? Frank Haith. Going to Tulsa.
Frank Haith, yeah. But it's the you go to UCF, and from what you've said and what you have heard is he wants to be back in this area. Well, I'm sure he thinks I can go down to UCF. I can recruit well. I can coach well there in that conference. There'll be a good team with me as the coach. And then in 2-3 years, one of these SEC schools will see me and see what I'm doing, and they'll come and bring an offer, and I'll take it.
You know who else thought that was going to work that way? Gus
Malzahn. And now he's an offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
At Florida State.
Everything I read, we may need to catch up with our buddy Matt and Michelle next week down in Orlando.
Yeah.
It looks like if they would take him, Scott Frost is ready for take 2 at UCF, and that rarely works.
It rarely works, but that does seem like one of those when you're I like kind of going through and seeing all the stories about coaching candidates, and that's the one that really sticks out of, Scott Frost, and it feels like there's traction there of, he kind of wants to get back, and, maybe if they were open to it. Obviously, he was, really good there, and, a lot of different circumstances and a different time, but I don't know if that's the way I would go. Certainly not if Lincoln Riley is available. If Lincoln Riley wants that job, I think if you're UCF, you hire Lincoln Riley very quickly.
I know there have been a few, but not many. There's usually at least one, but it doesn't look like a move in the SEC unless maybe next week we got the Stoops retirement.
See Stoops retiring, yeah. I think that one could be there, and not a good year for Kentucky, and really didn't get much going, and I don't know. I think, Sam Pittman kind of, a lot of people had that same idea of maybe he calls it quits and retires, but then, into the season, they're playing well, and he looks at what he has coming back and says, well, maybe we can be better next year, and I want to be a part of that. I don't see that with Kentucky. I don't see them being, taking a big jump next year and being a lot better than what they were this year.
Do you think Maui hangover is real? Well, we're going to know in about 4 hours.
I guess we'll figure it out. A lot of big games coming up. Auburn against Duke. I know UConn has played a game since coming back from Maui, but they've got a big one against Baylor. Memphis, obviously, playing Louisiana Tech. I'll be completely honest. I didn't pay much attention last night to Dayton in Western Michigan.
Until it got interesting.
Yeah, and I know they had Western Michigan came out and looked good. So I guess we'll find out tonight. I don't want to subscribe to it very much, but that's a lot of travel and it's a lot of games in a very little amount of time. So I don't know, maybe.
a lot of players have always said it's very real. In 1995, it wasn't Maui; it was Rainbow Classic, more the Christmas tournament. And Arkansas was real good, defending national champs. They go out there with just everybody back. Ended up being the national runner-up that year, and they were in 3 absolute war games. Won them all, but and Corey Beck was injured. He cut his foot badly on some coral out in the ocean, and they get back. And as soon as they get back, like New Year's Eve night at some ghastly time in the morning. I mean, just horrible travel, and that was like on a Sunday or Monday. And then on Tuesday night was first SEC game in Oxford at about the time Rob Evans was really trying to and Keith Carter was a freshman on that team. It's a real young team, and they walked into one at Tad Smith that night. And, huge win to kind of launch the Rob years and the Keith Carter years. And Coach Richardson said, he pulled the Hurley. He said, I'm never going to that again.
I love it. I love it. Big game for UConn tonight. Now, I think for the Tigers, what I will be the most interested about and the thing that I'll be looking at is the beginning of the season, the first, 3 or 4 games, it was really slow starts. They'd come out in the second half and look really good. Well, you go out to Maui, and it's a lot different. They had really good starts in both their wins against UConn and Michigan State. But one thing you hear a lot of people say, especially with Tiger teams, last year's team got it a lot, even before that, is they play up and down to their competition. If they're playing a really good team, they're going to play up to it, and they're going to be really good against them. If they're playing Rice or somebody that is very easily lower competition than them, they play down to it and they're going to struggle. I want to see tonight against La Tech. I'm not saying La Tech is way underneath Memphis. They're a good team, but when you've just gone out there and you faced UConn, you faced Michigan State, and you've faced Auburn, 3 really big brands in basketball, do you come out with that fire against La Tech? And I feel like this group will. I feel like this group has that maturity and will come out and be ready to play basketball.
And, Brian, if it does, look out.
Yeah.
And Sunday afternoon is almost the same challenge.
And I think, we've talked about Arkansas State a lot, and I really like what they've got over there, and certainly a really good head coach, and I think a really good, talented roster, and I think will be a team, a big factor in that conference. So, yeah, I mean, these 2 games, and, it goes back to the job Penny Hardaway did at scheduling. Even these, mid-major opponents that you're facing. Ohio was picked preseason to win their conference. Louisiana Tech was picked preseason to win their conference. Arkansas State was picked preseason to win their conference. These are good teams that you're facing and will be good opponents and good competition for this team.
Masterful scheduling to this point.
It's been incredible, and we knew it before the year.
The moving goalposts I asked Kevin about. I didn't get your take on that. Yeah. We may adjust, but I want to wait till the full non-conference portion's played out.
Yeah, I definitely want to
I
wait
had
till
14-4 in league.
Yeah.
If this finished double digits, 10-3, maybe even 9-4, I may adjust conference. I may move 14-4 to 15-3.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely okay to do with how hot they've started.
But I'm not ever moving to 0 or 1. It's conference games.
It's conference games are tough.
You have the flu, you have a turned ankle, you have a goofy travel. I'm never putting 0 or 1 or maybe even 2 on anybody.
No. And I mean, just
in any league.
Just the way the schedule's laid out, Brett. I mean, having to play Wednesday, Saturday.
In fact, I'm telling you now, I'm not adjusting. I'm staying at 14-4. I'm not going to do them like that.
Well, and I think that's the beauty of preseason predictions and expectations and where you start the goalposts of, because why do we want to move the goalposts? I mean, if they exceed the expectations, if they blast
enjoy it.
That's great. Let's enjoy it. And I think this team so far has been way better than what I think anybody would have predicted.
I thought the Monday night candor and in interviews, Coach Hardaway, he's really laying his soul out there too.
Yeah, the quote, and I meant to bring it up yesterday, and we just ran out of time with everything to talk about, but the quotes where it was something along the lines of that he said he had to look into the mirror and say, this is on you, you've got to be better, you've got to change things about yourself and about how you're handling this stuff, and Jason Munn's great reporting on it. But yeah, the mindset, I've heard so many people talk about it, that Penny Hardaway has going into the season.
The self-scout.
It's been great.
The reflection.
It's been really good.
it is, and I think everybody, if they be honest, they get to that point about something.
Yeah, and it's good to hear from him, and for him to be very open about it and kind of talking about it in the coaches show. He said several things at his coaches show Monday night that I really, really liked, and so we'll see what happens in just a couple hours for the Tigers as they take on Louisiana Tech. Should be a fun one. We did Tiger Bankroll earlier. Darian and Connor both taking the Tigers. Brett and I.
No, Connor had Louisiana Tech.
Oh, did he have Louisiana Tech? Okay, so me, you,
Big.
and Connor taking
Connor had
La
Tech 100.
Okay, see, I got confused earlier. So we'll see how this plays out tonight and see what the Tigers can do. I think should be a fun one for the Tigers. Hopefully a really good atmosphere for them as well as, first time coming back from Maui and first time being in the top 25 this year. Well, let's go ahead and get to our final break. And when we come back, we'll wrap up today's show with Crunch Time.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
This holiday season, give the gift of Gould's with a Gould's gift card for someone you love. Relaxation, perfectly gifted, is right for everyone. The gift of tranquility with a Gould's Spa gift card is perfect for anyone who deserves a moment to unwind, refresh, and rejuvenate. Because relaxation is the greatest gift of all. Happy holidays from Gould's. Gould's Spa, locally owned and operated since 1932.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com. At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Hi, this is Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. Did you know there are so many roofing companies in Memphis that I don't even know them all? So that begs the question, which one should you choose? So I thought I'd give you a little background about me. My grandfather was a World War II Marine. My father worked for the University of Memphis for nearly 30 years. My mother, a pianist at Raleigh Baptist Church. Seems like forever. I went to Brownsville Road, Craigmont, and Bartlett High School, class of 81. We support the local school systems, youth athletics, and believe in what St. Jude and Le Bonheur stand for. I'm a Tiger and Grizz fan. The point? Memphis is my home. Five-Ash Roofing will be around if you ever have a problem with the service we provide. Five-Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical, with deep local ties in our community. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five-Ash Roofing is what we do. We're here for you.
This is pretty cool, and we're just getting started, so.
Spanning the globe.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskins!
it's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin, this baby is over.
Well, Brett, what I learned today is that after last night's loss to the Dallas Mavericks, Ja Morant was asked about dunking and how he's going to the rim. There was a part of the game where he gets a steal. He's got a lot of open court in front of him, and he just lightly goes up, dunks it, and then turns around and jogs back down the court. And the Maverick fans were not very pleased with that. They started booing him. They wanted the showstopper. They wanted the highlight reel dunk that we've seen from Ja Morant, and they haven't gotten this. This is a quote from Ja Morant about his kind of mindset now. He said, "Sometimes I get knocked out of the air and a foul doesn't get called, and now I'm out longer than what I'm supposed to be. Sometimes the foul might get called, I still hit the floor, but after the game you might feel that little fall. So I just pick and choose, man. Hey, 2 points is 2 points. I get it done. That's all that matters." And so obviously we've seen over Ja Morant's career, him going up with all of that power, how fast he is, how fast he gets up and gets to the rim, and those kind of collisions in the air. Him, players, not, dirty plays or anything, but guys just going for the ball, and he gets knocked out of the air, lands awkwardly. We've seen that result into injuries for Ja Morant, and so he's kind of prioritizing that health, trying to stay on the court more and just kind of go up more solid, just, regular layups or dunks and nothing
Save
flashy.
those dunks for us.
I'm fine with it, yeah. I mean,
they don't need to see that in Dallas.
No, keep them here, keep them at home, and limit them. That's fine. If it keeps you on the court, I'm all for it.
We don't want him anywhere that he's risking injury.
Exactly.
We've had enough missed time. I'm with you. I like kind of a quarterback that learns when to hold them and fold them.
Mm-hmm.
Dipping it out of bounds, okay, that's fine.
Yep.
You can play a lot longer that way.
Yeah.
What I learned, my admonition from 30 years ago around the NCAA tournament, I swear that was the first time I unveiled this, and it's apropos for the college football playoff. Remember, they're revealing a TV show for the next month. Bama playing Notre Dame standalone on that Friday night means big ratings, big money. A rerun of Catholics versus convicts, though. Miami and Notre Dame would have been good, but I don't even know if we can even say Catholic versus convicts anymore in this sensitive society that we want to tell people when they can plant their flag or not.
Yes, you can decide. You gotta have rules against it, Brett. Now it's a good question, but it's a good matchup. I mean, I can't blame them. Alabama and Notre Dame would be a heck of a matchup.
That would be Friday night's programming, wouldn't it?
It probably would be. Yes, and
Penn State Saturday night in a whiteout.
Yep. You're right. It's a TV show. Brett, what I could have done without, it was the news that came out earlier today. Jaguars are placing Trevor Lawrence on IR for concussion, which will likely end his season because of that injury, that hit he took last week against the Texans. I know there's been a lot of debate about whether it was dirty, whatever it might be. It didn't look good when it happened. It obviously started a little bit of a fight there on the field. And ultimately, I hope Trevor Lawrence is okay. It's been a weird last couple of years for him. It's been a weird last couple of years for that team and certainly for Doug Peterson. Hope he's all right and hopefully he can bounce back next year. But you hate to see a quarterback that, a starting quarterback of that caliber being forced out for the rest of the year.
I could have done without last night Ward Manuel, and David Cohn laid it out in much more diplomatic, kinder fashion than I have, and I did. And he's a Michigan man, and I'm sure he has to be around him at events, but he couldn't answer the basic questions. And all these chairs, whether it's a men's basketball tournament or the college, they're in an almost hopeless job. But you got to be able to go out there and enunciate something.
Yeah.
He couldn't handle the basics. It was so very awkward and bad to watch.
Yeah, and you got to know, I mean, you're discussing the exact things that you're going to be asked about. I mean, you're telling me some of those questions weren't brought up in the room about, hey, why are we doing this? This is why we're doing this.
They have to have a media relations person that could go through, all right, here's potential questions, Mr. Manuel, that you're going to get. and let's game plan through some of these answers.
Yes, have somebody sitting in there while they're discussing all this, and their only job is to bullet point, this is that, and then say, hey, these are things you're probably going to be asked. These are some just bullet points of things that happened in that meeting.
He was ready for nothing.
That when they ask you, you can be ready to answer. He hasn't been ready at all since we started a month ago with the rankings, and it's made it very confusing for a lot of people. Why is this happening? Why are you doing this? Why is this team ahead of this team? And it's really been kind of a mess with these rankings from start to finish, how early they started to some of the things that have come out of them. But we'll see on Sunday. That's the one that really matters. Where are you beaming tonight?
Beam me to Cameron Indoor for number 2, Auburn at number 9, Duke. Money's no object with the beaming machine. $600 get-in price, easy for us. Yeah. Duke -2.5 with Flag versus Broome. Auburn undefeated, champs in Maui. Only 2 losses for Duke against Kentucky and Kansas. Pretty good resume.
Yeah, and those 2 losses that they've had opportunities at the end of
those
games to win them, and turnovers by those stellar freshmen have really kind of hurt them in those 2 losses. So that'll be a big game tonight. Beat me to FedEx Forum for Louisiana Tech and the Memphis Tigers. The Tigers back in the top 25 tonight and facing off against the preseason Conference USA favorite to win it, Louisiana Tech. This La Tech team comes in 7-1. Their only loss came in their most recent game against Southern. So they're going to want to bounce back. I thought Kevin Sweeney laid it out really well. He said if there is going to be a Maui hangover, this feels like maybe the right scenario for it to happen. You've got a Tigers team, played some really good competition coming off of a high of Maui against a team that really wants to bounce back and get a win after a loss against Southern.
Let it play out. All SEC on night 1 of SEC ACC. Let's see if the Tobacco Road teams can make up ground tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun night. All the college basketball. You've got the Tigers. You've got some of those big games. Don't forget about Baylor and UConn that tips off here in a couple of minutes as well. You got NBA tonight also. So it should be a good night of basketball. But that's all the time we have. Enjoy your night. If you're heading down to FedEx Forum, safe travels and enjoy that game. But we'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon.